ready to start?
Yeah, you want me to start with the bada boom, bada bing?
Sure, why not?
Bada boom, bada bing.
And here we.
Capiche?
Oh shit! I fucked it. I stepped right on top of you.
What are you
Hi
out of your
everyone.
mind?
It's Cranked and Ranked, everybody. Cranked and Ranked is back, and we are ranking. Is yours in an order? Do you have an order for yours?
I've got an order, but it's not in order of quality so much as it is chronological.
Oh, okay.
So,
I have mine in an order of most important to least important.
okay.
Because this is going to be not our, well, yeah, top 10 albums or most important albums. I could have thought about this earlier, but top 10 most important albums of our lives. I guess so, right? Which does not mean favorite albums by any stretch of the imagination, although these are all favorites of mine, but these wouldn't be necessarily my top 10 albums ever, favorite albums. But I went into this just sort of thinking about it as albums that either musically shaped me, like as a musician, songwriter, or whatever, and then also musically shaped me as the kind of music that I love that has stuck with me for years. Like what was the album that kind of kick-started that? So I narrowed it down to 10 of those. That I don't know. So whatever, for those of you playing at home, when you hear the phrase top 10 most important albums of your life, what does that mean to you? What would you put? And so, we're going to have, obviously very different lists here. I do like that we're both, I got Metallica and you've got Alice in Chains on our shirts today. This fucking shirt rules. Look at this shirt.
Oh, shit, dude.
This
You're
is
right,
from
that does rule.
It's from the last tour. When they
Nice.
came through Houston. Cool little, I don't know, Grim Reaper guy holding skulls. I don't know. They've upped their shirt game because there used to be a lot of designs that I would go, I'm not too into that. But like this last tour, I was like, man, there's a whole lot of fucking really cool shirts. Anyway, so we're repping what I'm assuming is two very important bands in our lives.
Yes, and it's something I wanted to specifically make sure of because amazingly an Alice in Chains album didn't make my list.
Yeah.
But
Me neither. It's weird.
it like just barely pushed out because I approached this from the mindset of I want to be very broad with like what's one album that got me into one area, because if I'm being honest, if I just picked the top 10 albums of my life, it would be like 5 grunge albums, 4 thrash albums, and a Toto album.
Yeah. I tried to reach for different areas with mine as well.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting ranking because it's personal. But I also feel this is the kind of one that people out, especially in the YouTube side of things, can join in and put their 10 most important albums of your life. Remember, not favorites, although they could be favorites, but just ones that like you look at that album, you're like, I wouldn't be who I am today, musically speaking, if it wasn't for this album. Yeah. And it was interesting because like there's a few in my top 10 that you're not going to be surprised about at all. But then there are other ones that got left out that I'm just like, God, it's crazy. When narrowing it down to 10, I was just like, oh, well, I guess some shits that's really great that, really was influential to me had to go because there were stronger albums that were more important.
And I'll be the first to raise my hand, and I've taken creative license on 3 of these with what I'm calling an album. So I'm going off of releases.
Okay, that works.
So
whatever you want to do.
So I will. There's 3 of these that are very specifically not just one album, and I'll even turn around and say, one of which is. Oh damn it! If I did that, then why didn't I? Tell you what, fuck it. We're going in. I could have.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, as usual, I brought my vinyl with me because that's what I just like to do. And yeah, but we can just get started because we can do whatever we want because really we didn't have a big discussion about this. It was basically just the concept of important albums in our lives, and then we just both ran with it, whichever direction we were going to run with it. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's just get started because I know there's probably a long conversation in here for most of these albums. So as usual, let's let Eddie Sparxx. Also, before we begin, go download Grave Circuit 1.0.
Yes.
Gravecircuit.bandcamp.com. I know some people have actually been going and paying for it, which I greatly appreciate. But you know, at the end of the day, it ends up just being like $1 or $2 that comes my way. But it's meaningful. Even if you like pay $1 for the whole album, I don't care. But the number one thing for me is that you listen to it, and if you like it, you like share it. If you do social media type stuff, share it and be like, hey, check this fucking album out. Because we're just two dudes. We don't have like fucking record labels or budgets or anything.
We're out here.
we're just small potatoes that need somebody to cook us up and put us with a nice meal. I mean, I love potatoes.
Potatoes, they're so versatile.
Yeah, that's like one of the best things ever. Potatoes.
Yeah.
You're not harming any living creature, and yet you can make all this delicious shit. All kinds of different stuff. Anyway, so my favorite potato of all time. What's your number 10 potato album of your life, Eddie Sparxx?
Well, before I say my number 10, I want to drop an honorable mention.
Okay.
And I couldn't get away with this as a music release, but definitely on my music taste. The PS2 Grand Theft Auto games left a huge lasting impression on my music taste. And
yeah. Honestly, if you had just used the game, I would have let you do that if you were just going to include the game because, you know, I know.
Yeah, it's for me, those ones, especially San Andreas and the two Vice City games, especially for the rock side of things. But some of these, actually, a few of these actually appear on San Andreas, especially. So we'll get there. But my number 10 is Relapse by Eminem. It was the first ever. It was the first ever album for me at the. I just turned 11 when it came out, and I remember I'd just gotten really into Eminem. I'd just gotten a green iPod, like iPod Nano 8 gig, because I don't need any more than 8 gig. I don't know that much music. Fast forward 16 years, and I can't fit all of my music on my phone. Yeah, and that's got 200 something.
That being said, though, there's something nice about limitations. Like like back in the day. You know, when we had like the CD folder that you'd bring in your car, no matter how big it was, you had to like stop at some point. And I would always have the one that just carried like 50. So I had to like narrow it down to 50 albums. Or what I mostly did too was I actually only did 25 because the other side I would put the inner slip from the CD, just because like I was always like bringing it to somebody's house, like, hey, check out this album. And so I would always be like, well, here's the inner to look at. And there's something about like perfecting that 25. Like right now, here's what I'm feeling. This 25. So obviously I've been a person that loved ranking things ever since the CD days.
Yeah. Ever since a numerical value was applied to music, it's, and you know, fast forward to 2020, and bada boom, bada bing, here we are.
Yeah, 2025.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's it's when we started the show.
You're right. Yeah.
Don't put me back in the lockdown.
So Relapse. Yeah. Okay. So it's funny that you're mentioning that. So I can throw a honorable mention in real quick because I didn't include any hip hop, but if I would have, "Raising Hell" by Run DMC would have been in there, but it got nudged out just slightly. But I'm glad there's some hip hop in here. So I don't even remember what's on Relapse.
Well, it's got "We Made You," beautiful. There's lots of tracks on it. "Bagpipes from Baghdad" was one of my favorites as a kid. That was one of the first times, like that, I fucking love the beat of that song. It was one of the first times I'd experienced getting chills with a song, and it was like, oh, something can be this good? Oh shit.
Yeah.
And it's the first time I experienced just being like, I think that was probably my first riff face, is that song.
Nice.
And you know, it's a divisive album amongst Eminem fans, and I know you had it last on
I did. I don't even remember. It feels like that was such a long time ago.
Yeah, it was 2 years now, I think.
Oh, okay.
That's crazy. But like, honestly, like this album for me, like I'd been playing GTA for a few years, and you know, I'd heard music in those games, but I'd never really like properly latched on to any one thing yet.
Yeah.
But this was the first album that like I really took to, because it was so dark and edgy, and I was 11, and it's that thing of like, ooh, this is scary, and I like it because I'm coming up for the teen years, and you know, it's that beautiful moment of discovery when you're a kid, when you're like, oh, now I'm starting to get into some fucked up shit, you know?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know?
I loved the, you know, that's a thing that you obviously can never really get back. But that point in your childhood when you start to be able to look at things and go, this is mine. Like I found this. I'm into this. There wasn't outside, you know, it wasn't like an older brother or an uncle or somebody. It was like, I found this. This is my shit. There's something that feels so good about that.
Well, the crazy thing is my mum was already a fan of Eminem and had the Eminem show.
Oh,
but,
okay.
Yeah, when I got Relapse, I say I got Relapse. I listened to Relapse on some dodgy music streaming illegal site.
LimeWire.
It wasn't LimeWire. It was Groove Shark.
I remember that one.
And I can remember, like, you know, when you're a kid, you don't know what illegal downloads are or like illegal streaming or something like that. No. I don't even know if it was illegal, but it was definitely free. And
I was an adult and I was still using that shit, and I didn't care because I've always been the same person. So like I would illegally download an album just to fully listen to the full album, and then I would just go buy it. So that's always been me. So whatever. I use bad for good things.
Yeah. Yeah. As long as you know, turn it on its head. But like here's the thing with Relapse. It'll always have like a special place in my heart as like the first album that really like was like an adult album that I really took to.
Yeah.
And I actually ended up singing a few one too many lyrics around my friends, and ended up getting banned from it for about 6 months because I mean it's probably like the most graphic album, maybe. Like there's a horrorcore edge to this album.
Yeah.
That like on this album it feels like Eminem one-upping the Slim Shady character from last time. I mean, obviously you had crazy shit like Kim and stuff like that, but like I feel like this album is consistently like there's people getting chopped up left, right, and center, and So as a kid, you're like, oh, this is cool, and then mum figured out, an 11-year-old probably shouldn't be listening to, triple rape homicide.
Yeah.
So I mean, with that. For me, this album became like a forbidden fruit that I couldn't hear for a long time. But it ended up being a blessing in disguise because it led me to seek out aggressive, violent music elsewhere.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting into a completely different genre of music that had a dark edge to it. So we'll get there. But that's my number 10. Relapse by Eminem.
I honestly love where the conversation was going with that, because like this album, like I first heard when I was 14, 15. So a few years older than you would have been. But this is exactly the reason why when Eminem came out and I heard like his quote unquote edgy songs, I was just like, what is this pussy shit? Because I had already heard Tomb of the Mutilated
Nice.
by Cannibal Corpse. So this is so there's a little bit of a struggle memory wise when it comes to what the first death metal band I heard was, because it was either Obituary or Cannibal Corpse. But I know for sure the first full death metal album I ever heard was Tomb of the Mutilated. I'm just gonna hold up the cover because I love it. It's like that's just so on the nose. Like,
Yeah.
it's like gory and sexually explicit. Let's just throw it all in there. The only thing I don't like about this cover is it's got the updated Cannibal Corpse logo because this is a reissue.
Yeah, I don't know why they do that. Like,
Well, it's, I think because the original logo was drawn by fucking EEE. What's his name?
oh, Chris Barnes.
Chris Barnes. And so I think when he left, they redesigned the logo.
Are you saying they have beef?
Yeah, maybe. But this album was like, so, death metal is like probably my, I would call like my second favorite, subgenre of metal after thrash.
Nice.
And so this was kind of what kicked open that door because at that point, so I would have heard this probably in 93. That's probably when I would have first heard this. And, I was like I've said it many times. We were constantly looking to expand our horizons. So every direction we could expand, we were wanting to go that way. And this was the extreme of graphic, heavy, fucking brutal ass sounding vocals that you could barely understand. That the kind of music that this is the number one like pissing off parents kind of music.
Yeah.
Because like you can't even tell what the fuck they're saying.
Yeah.
But it's probably not good. But this just kicked open the door for me getting into this genre called death metal. And so I still like, this album, it still just feels so important to me because it was just, I just, remember my mind being blown, like just hearing the first time hearing this album and being like, this is like fucking scary in music. It's like music that's a horror movie.
Yeah.
And it feels uncomfortable, but I like the uncomfortableness. It's there. It's like, nowadays there's so much of this music out there. And I feel like a lot of people are desensitized to so many things that it's hard to sometimes remember like how unsettling an album like this could be for a young person.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I want to be unsettled. I want to make everybody else feel unsettled. So Cannibal Corpse, Tomb of the Mutilated is totally a very influential album for me because it really did set me on the path of really liking like brutal music. Like, at that point I'd never heard anything that fucking viscerally like violent sounding in music. It was just, it was insane. It was like a total game changer for me. And probably for a lot of people too. But yeah, so my number 10 is Cannibal Corpse, Tomb of the Mutilated.
Nice. Cool. Well, my number nine, is going to be. I've got a little bit of build up here. So,
right.
Coming off of mine's in chronological order, so I can kind of do a little bit of a story time here.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Imagine this. Your edgy Eminem album is banned and you are starved of heavy, violent music, and you want, shit, I'm going to have to wait till I'm like 13 to hear that again. But then you're like, oh, hold on. Wait a second. What's this Guitar Hero game they have set up in the hall at school? So it was the last week before Christmas, and basically the secondary school I went to had a hall with a stage, and they'd set up a Guitar Hero tournament going on at break times.
Nice.
And so you had the option to go in and play some Guitar Hero. And you could, face off against a friend. It was pretty cool. I didn't go up and play because I'd never played Guitar Hero before, but I was struck by how cool it looked. I'd never seen it in person. I'd always seen the ads, and I was like, yeah, that looks fun, but like, I'm not really into music enough.
Yeah.
Something switched in me that day where I looked up and I thought, that looks really fun. I want that. And I put it on my Christmas list, but it was too close to Christmas for my family to be able to get it in time.
Yeah.
However, I'd saved up some money that year, £5 pocket money a week, and I managed to get just about enough to cover half of Guitar Hero 5. And I said, hey, look, I'll give you all of my money if you cover the rest of it. And after Christmas, like 2-3 days later, we went to Comet, which isn't even a store anymore, which makes me feel old. When did Comet close? It was like a former electronics retailer, Comet Electrics. Where is it? Blah blah blah. Needless to say, there was a Comet store. It doesn't exist anymore.
So it was like did it have like appliances in there too, like appliances and electronics? But then they also had like CDs and video games and shit.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like a Best Buy over here or Fry's or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we had that, and we went in, and I saw
Circuit City. That's one from back here that's gone now.
or Radio Shack.
Oh, Radio Shack didn't have music in it though, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like what is it? I went in and I said, oh, look, there it is, Guitar Hero 5, Guitar Hero 5. That's the newest one. That's the one they had in the hall. So I was like, okay. My mum picked up the thing. She said, I've never heard you talk about any of the bands on the back of here. You sure you want to play? I was like, yeah, it looked really fun, right? I come home, start playing it, and I begin to realize, oh, shit. I have secretly liked rock music this entire time. I didn't even know it. Because my uncle, who I've brought up several times on the show, he's been in bands.
Yeah.
He's put music out. He's listened to a shitload of it. I can remember seeing a Ride the Lightning poster right there, over there on that very wall when he lived here. But the big thing ultimately coming off this is that there was a song on there by a band called Rammstein called Du Hast. And it had a really heavy riff, and I was drawn to it, like and I found myself realizing, all of these songs that have the word metal next to them, I keep going back to. I must like metal. And then it just so happened around that time I was watching a crazy stunts compilation on YouTube of this is early YouTube.
Yeah.
Where someone had made a video of them doing crazy stunts off of this area that's been lovingly referred to as Cock Rock in San Andreas, because it's a big mesa mountain with two boulders at the bottom, and it looks like a cock. And
I'm sure
people
didn't do that on purpose.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah, there's basically someone made a stunt montage of them doing crazy stunts with it. And there was this song called Cigaro, which blared out, "My cock is much bigger than yours." Yeah. I found out, this not only has swearing like Eminem, but has riffs like Rammstein. And I went, whoa. I had a Bill and Ted, whoa moment. And then I mentioned to my uncle, yo, do you have any System of a Down? And he handed me the album Toxicity. And this is my number 9.
Toxicity, good one.
Yep. This one right here is a classic in 2000s metal, and in alternative metal in general. Every single one of these songs lives in my early metal mind. This is the first metal album I ever listened to all the way through religiously. Prison song right through Aerials. I think when my uncle put the album on my iPod, he left off the instrumental track at the end, just because he was like, well, he won't want that.
There's an instrumental track at the end of that album?
Yeah, it's called Arto, and it's
was it a hidden track? I don't remember that track at all.
It's a hidden track.
Okay.
It comes after Aerials, but I can just remember thinking, Oh my God, this is so good. Prison Song, Needles, Deer Dance, Jet Pilot, X, Chop Suey, Bounce. I fucking loved Bounce.
Yeah.
Forest, Atwa, Science, Shimmy, Toxicity, Psycho, Aerials. Every single one of these songs just fucking bang. And
Yeah.
I can remember listening to this album all the way through for the first time in, like, earbuds, wired earbuds. This is my
Yeah,
claim
kids.
to.
We used to have
Yeah,
wires in our headphones.
yeah, yeah. And I can just remember being sat there thinking, okay, when's the bad song coming?
Yeah.
And it never came. I was just like, oh my God, it's one after the other after the other. Holy shit. And honestly, it holds up. It's so good.
Yeah.
There is, System of a Down, they're kind of like the CCR of metal. They showed up, existed for a very short time, dropped banger after banger after banger after banger after banger, dipped.
You could also, I would equate them with Led Zeppelin in that.
Yeah, yeah.
Zeppelin did the same thing. They came in,
Yeah.
were very influential in a certain time, and then never went back, never came back ever again.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just thinking of the short time span.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
And there's no, and we ranked System of a Down, and like the hardest thing for me was like ranking their albums because they're all so good. And I remember
Yeah.
I put Toxicity lower down on the list just because of the strength of a couple of their other albums, and so
Yeah.
but it's like it's really tough. And honestly, in hindsight, the more that I listen to System of a Down, the more that I'm just like, I feel like they have a perfect discography. I don't think there's no album that I'm just like, this one's the one where they didn't really do that well. No, I mean, literally all of them are great to me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all good shit.
Mm-hmm.
We should revisit System of a Down at some point. We were talking about doing a slashed and mashed of Mesmerize and Hypnotize.
Oh, yeah, I want to do that. That would be so much fun. That would be really difficult for me because Mesmerize is possibly my favorite System of a Down album.
Yeah.
Very close with the first album. I don't know, they go back and forth, but Mesmerize is so good. But anyway,
Hell yeah. Well,
Toxicity is what we're talking about.
yeah, and like I can remember the days of playing Guitar Hero and then turning around and I've got Kerrang TV on in the background at the other end of the room, and I had my own little gaming setup in the corner of the living room, and the main family TV was at the other end.
Yeah,
and so when I needed to take a break, I would literally just go from playing this game about rock and metal to watching a TV channel dedicated to it.
Yeah.
And it
that's like me and MTV. I was constantly watching MTV, and if I wasn't watching MTV, I was listening to the music that was kind of like the stuff that was on MTV. It was just, yeah.
Yeah. So simply put, 9, Toxicity, it's a banger.
Sweet.
Hell yeah.
So mine's not chronological, but this next one came into my life the very, very end of the 90s. And I've talked about it a lot, but like, I went through a phase in the late 90s where like heavy rock music wasn't, the stuff that was coming out wasn't doing it for me. There was a lot of excitement for me late 80s going into the early 90s and up to maybe like 95 or so, but all of a sudden like I found myself going into different areas because the stuff that was like heavier music, and this isn't even a metal album, but I was looking for anything that was aggressive and heavier that gave me that feeling that earlier music did, and kind of inspired me and pushed me in a certain direction, and but it seemed like it was few and far between. And this was around the time that, MTV had started to not play as many music videos, but they still, especially late at night, would just play, an hour or two worth of videos. And I don't even remember what night it was, or if it was a show or that this was on, or if this was a random block of videos in the middle of the night. But one of my best friends and I at the time were at his apartment, probably high, because that's what we did. We got high and we ate Totino's pizzas. That's what we did, that shit a lot. which if you've never had a Totino's pizza, that is something for everyone to do because it's got like a cracker crust on the bottom of it. It's like basically about this big. It's cracker crust, just cheese, little tiny cubes of meat. It's so good. Anyway, so we're watching MTV and this fucking video starts, and it's and I just remember that like watching it and it's in my memory, he and I are on the couch completely fucking silent through this entire music video, and then the video ends and I say something to the effect of, I guess I'm gonna go to the record store tomorrow. Because it just totally floored me. And it's the song New Noise off of this album,
Cool.
The Shape of Punk to Come by Refused. And this album, not like it was the first like heavy sort of rockish album in a long time. It's more, obviously it's more hardcore-ish, I guess. But it was the first thing I'd heard in a little while that like was so good to me that it even like inspired like my songwriting. Like I got to the point where, this album is kind of like Meantime by Helmet, where like I learned how to play every song on this album because the riffs were so cool. But then that led to me just sort of, inspiring songwriting I was doing at the time, which also hadn't happened in a while. A new album hadn't come out that had just sort of pushed me in a direction where I went, oh, I want to do something like this. I could never do anything as good as this album, but we did. If you didn't watch it, we did a summum bonum.
I need to catch up.
We sent each other albums, and I sent him "Refuse," "The Shape of Punk to Come," and he sent me a spiritualized album that I enjoyed things about, but ultimately didn't like. But but it was it's a fun conversation. This album was just, it really like excited me. And then unfortunately, like, the internet wasn't as big of a deal back then. And then, so news didn't travel as quickly or as easily. But it was soon, announced that like, oh, by the way, they broke up. And it was, oh, okay, put out this fucking album and then break up. They eventually got back together, put out 2 more records, and now they're breaking up again. But this album, and it's not just me. Like, this is an album that like was so influential. Fucking Anthrax covered New Noise on Worship Music. It was an extra track.
Yeah.
It was, a lot of people that were, of my age or maybe younger at the time, this album really did sort of ignite like I don't know, some sort of a boom of sort of post-hardcore aggressive music that I guess, led to a lot of other bands that, later, but this one album, this feels like an anomaly to me because I like all of their albums, but none of them come close to this album. And other bands that attempted to do similar albums don't ever come close to this album. And it gets a lot of hype now, and in my opinion, it deserves it because it was very influential to me as a young. I was in my 20s, but there's another album in here I'm gonna talk about in a minute too that really helped me get over these periods in my life when I was in my 20s where I felt like I had hit a wall and there was no more music that was going to make me excited. And then Refused came out with this one. So my number 9, Shape of Punk to Come.
Cool. Nice. That's a ranking we should do because I've been meaning to get into more punk.
Yeah, all their albums are good, but it is their first like 3 albums very different from each other. So it's kind of cool.
I love that. I love when a band does different shit each time. So that brings me to my number 8.
Yeah.
So my number 8. This is the first time I'm really taking some creative liberty with what I'm calling an album.
Okay.
We're going to go with calling this a release.
All right.
I'm going to say Metallica, Guitar Hero Metallica.
Okay.
So I couldn't...
I played that game. Woo! Woo!
Hey, honestly, I couldn't narrow it down to any one Metallica album because they all came at once for me.
Yeah.
You know, my uncle burned me compilations. They were actually DVDs, but he filled them full of albums that he had, and
Because
just
you could
gave
fit
them to
more
me.
on that, right? On a
Yeah,
DVD.
you could,
Yeah.
yeah, you could fit far more, and he just said, "Here, take these discs, burn them onto your computer, put them on your iPod." I didn't know how to do that. My mom had to do it, but you know,
Man, I remember having to do that shit too, and you have to wait for the little status bar
yeah,
to load onto your thing. But there's
yeah,
something so fun about that. And then I would be really OCD about it, and I would have to like make sure all the metadata was correct, like all the titles and the everything. I was like, no, nope, everything has to be perfect.
me too, me
Yeah.
too. Everything has to have artwork, and it has to be a
That too.
good picture of the artwork.
That too, yeah.
Because sometimes you'd click get artwork, get album artwork, and it would do all of it en masse. But every now and again, you'd be like, why the fuck is why does Death Magnetic have some country compilation as its fucking album cover? Why
Yeah.
is that? You know, something like that. You know, that's just a random example. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just gonna really quickly rattle off why I picked this as a thing. So for the most part, I think, what is it? Right then. So for the most part, these songs are in Guitar Hero Metallica. You got All Nightmare Long, Battery, Creeping Death, Disposable Heroes, Dyer's Eve, Enter Sandman, Fade to Black,
Damn.
Fight Fire with Fire, For Whom the Bell Tolls, Frantic, Fuel.
You just naming off those names. I'm like, oh, that's why that's my favorite band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Hit the Lights, King Nothing, Master of Puppets, Memory Remains, Merciful Fate, My Apocalypse, No Leaf Clover, Nothing Else Matters, One, Orion, Sad But True, Seek and Destroy, Shortest Straw, Thing That Should Not Be, The Unforgiven, Welcome Home Sanitarium, Wherever I May Roam, Whiplash. And here's the thing, right? There were guest artists too, because like the career mode had you as a band that would support Metallica. So if you've never played the game, in the career mode, you would play like the support set, which is covers basically of they're the real songs, but it's a band covering these songs.
Yeah, you had like Suicidal Tendencies and Corrosion Conformity. Danzig, I think, was on there.
Yeah, you got No Excuses by Alice in Chains, Turn the Page, Bob Seger, Albatross by COC, Am I Evil by Diamond Head, Stacked Actors, Foo Fighters, Hellbent for Leather, Judas Priest, Demon Cleaner by Caius, Tuesday's Gone, Leonard Skinner, Beautiful Morning, Machine Head, Blood and Thunder by Mastodon. This was the most metal, overtly metal, fucking, what's it called? Guitar Hero game going. It even had Toxicity by System of a Down. I was like, oh, I know that from the CD I got, you know? So
I loved how, like, musically speaking, that really brings you up to speed with, like, not only who Metallica are, but also what influenced them back in the day and now. They like included a little bit of everything, and that's honestly like an amazing way to learn about a band. Oh, here's a video game with like this selection of songs that you get to not only hear, but you're almost kind of like ingraining them in your brain because you're playing along with these songs.
Yeah,
It's pretty sweet.
When did it come out in Europe? So it dropped in on May 29th, 2009, and there was a decent enough promotional campaign that I remember seeing before I got into metal, stuff that was like Guitar Hero Metallica, Metallica this, Metallica that, and wherever I would go there was like Metallica posters and stuff, and I'm like, oh, my uncle's got a big box in his room that's got tapes in it that says that on
Not
the
that
side.
box, the other box.
Yeah. Well, I've got the Live Ship Binge and Purge box set.
Oh, nice.
That he had, and that was bestowed upon me.
That was a hell of a gift. That was the gift that gives and gives forever.
Dude, early 2010 was such a planets aligning moment for me. It's fucking insane looking back. I think, I didn't really fit in with anybody. I had maybe like 3 friends. I was trying to figure out who I was. And then, as soon as, I might have said this last time. As soon as David Tennant regenerated into Matt Smith, my attention went from Doctor Who to heavy metal, and
Yeah.
that was that. The rest is history. Like, there's like it's so nuts to me as well how, like, as of the new decade coming in, I became a completely new person.
Yeah.
That it's like, right, David Tennant's gone, you've got Guitar Hero, you're a metalhead now, boom. Okay,
Yeah.
roll with that shit. And then by the following year, I had Slayer on my iPod, and it was like, okay, I've leveled up a bit. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm
sure.
I'm in this now. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty damn cool going through this little journey right now. So yeah, I couldn't pick a Metallica album because it didn't feel fair enough.
Yeah.
And I think this ultimately is where I listened to Metallica the most, because it was just like, it's like a band and a game in one. It's like fucking kick-ass music. It's perfect. Yeah. I've recently reacquired Guitar Hero Metallica, and I've got it on the Wii this time.
That's where I had it too. We had a Wii at my house, the house I lived at. Yeah.
And the best part about the Wii version is you get extra tracks.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you got a few extra tracks on the from Death Magnetic on that one, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. No. I played. We had a Wii, and
We had a Wii in it.
that was, if I remember right, that was the only reason that we bought the Wii, was to play Guitar Hero Metallica.
Oh, sick.
And then we had a handful of other games, but I don't even remember what they were. But yeah,
Was one of them Wii Sports? Because I feel
of
like
course it
that's
was Wii Sports. Yeah,
Yeah, that's mandatory, dude.
and I'm pretty sure there was like a Rayman game or some shit like that. Remember that
nice.
Rayman?
Yeah, dude, Rayman 2 is one of my favorites of all time.
I just like those because they had a lot of like interactive stuff, like play the rhythm along to make them dance the right way or something, which I was always really good at. Then there would be other things that I would totally suck at. But anyway,
Well, that's my number 8. Over to you.
all right, man. So this we're now getting this is the most recent album on the list, but this is still 20 years old. So this one represents another point in my life where I needed something to inspire me and excite me, and it happened. And this was like, so as you got further into the 2000s, like the early 2000s, I was even more like removed from metal and heavy music. And it's literally because like I would hear things that were like metal, like the metal that's coming out now, and so much of it I was just like, this is not. Why is this not doing anything for me? And then I heard this album, Leviathan by Mastodon, which, funny enough, is the next album that I sent to Smurl for him to listen to.
Oh, cool.
And he sent me an album by Adam and the Ants. And I won't say anything about that because I'm saving it for the episode. But
Stand and deliver.
not that one. It's the Kings of the Wild Frontier is the one he sent me. But I'm not going to say anything about it because I don't want to give it away. Yeah. So this album right here is not only the album that got me into Mastodon, but it reignited my love of metal. Because as soon as I was listening to this album and I was like, this is so good. And like, it would immediately go, oh man, this riff is really cool. Remember this riff from this band? And so because of this album, all of the metal from before that I was into all came flooding back to me, and all of a sudden I realized that my problem was I was constantly looking for new music, and then realizing that I was kind of discarding old music because I wasn't finding any new music. And I'm just like, well, that's stupid, because there's so much music from back then, from that period of heavy music that I love. So it literally like opened up this whole thing to where like, oh my God, I actually do love metal and hard rock music more than anything else. And so what I ended up doing because of this album is going back to all that stuff, finding stuff from back then that I maybe didn't give enough attention to. But then not only that, it led me to other bands, kind of related to Mastodon, and newer bands that, I started searching out, further into the metal world, and I found bands like Gojira and stuff like that I'm like, oh, this is fucking great too. So it really kind of like brought me back and started making me feel like I was 13 again, listening to this music. And honestly, that 13-year-old feeling has not gone away since I heard Leviathan.
Wow.
Literally all the time with me now is always constantly revisiting the stuff that makes me happy from the old days, but also really searching for the newer stuff that I'm like, it's not going to be right there in front of me. I got to do a little bit of digging, and I'm going to find, that's why I say it's always weird to call myself a metalhead, because I would say at least 90% of all metal that comes out now, I don't like. But that 10%, I'm just like, oh, this is so fucking great. So I just, it really like, it just made me realize like that's the music that really affects me and makes me feel alive and like helps with my fucking anxiety. Like that is the thing, is like you put on, some metal for me, and that's what really kind of like calms my brain down. And so Leviathan really is the album that brought me back there and really made me realize, oh man, you're being a fucking idiot. Why did you just forget about all of this music that was so important to you? Just because you were young doesn't mean the music wasn't good, which was a very important lesson to learn, that because I really did have that mindset that, oh, I was into that stuff when I was like 13, 14 years old. So I was an idiot. That music isn't good. And I was like, well, no, it is good. It's great. And, so yeah, anyway, that's why like I always think it's funny when people are like, you still listen to this music you listened to when you were a teenager. I'm like, I was a teenager. The people that made it weren't necessarily teenagers. What is that supposed to mean? Like it's supposed like when I hear a band, like if I fucking heard the Grateful Dead when I was 12, I'm all like, oh, I can't like that anymore. That's that music from when I was 12.
Yeah,
because I just brought out the Grateful Dead because they always seem like they were old. Since day one, they were old people. Anyway.
For me, the whole mindset of, oh, you still listen to what you did back then, it just shows me you're a fucking poser. It's like, no, you wore it like a fucking costume,
Exactly.
And then one day you said, well, now society doesn't want me to be that, so I'm not going to be that.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. But I do think a lot of people, too, think that growing up means you're not into, like, metal and stuff anymore. Because
at some point you just have to start to suck. Like, it's just... everybody, once you reach a certain age, you just have to be boring and shit.
Dude, that started happening with people I knew when we were in our 20s. I all of a sudden found that there was a road. And like some people took this road of like, my new costume is adult. And here's what I need in my adult costume. And like the rest of us were just like continue to just live our lives and be who we were. And I'm not saying that you can't decide that music isn't important to you anymore and not be genuine. I mean, everybody's different. As long as you're not looking down on somebody else for still, because now I feel better about it because there are literally people out there that their thing is still being obsessed with Disney movies. And I look at that and I go, how fucking lame. But then I have to go like, okay, that's not my life. That's not my brain. That's not my experience. That's what truly makes them happy and makes them feel good. So shut the fuck up. And so same thing anyway.
Dude, I will say one thing. I will never not be in the mood for a Pixar movie. Those movies slap.
Yeah, I can't even those. Like, it's hard for me to. It's hard for me. It's hard. Yeah, I mean, but I've mentioned this before. Animated stuff. It's very hard to keep me engaged.
Huh.
I mean, there's only like 2 animated shows that I regularly watch. That's Bob's Burgers and King of the Hill. That new King of the Hill season's fucking great. I don't know if you've seen it or not.
Dude, I need to do a major catch up on King of the Hill. I've only ever seen bits over the years, but like I've seen some stuff that's made me absolutely piss myself.
Yeah, but like just the fact that they came back this much time later and like like it's only like 10 episodes, but it's fucking perfect. They fucking nailed it.
There's one line that always cracks me up, and it's like, "Hey there, satellite dish trouble? Nah, I'm just up here to kill myself."
Oh man.
I think it had something like, it had Nutshell in the background. It's like when you're listening to your playlist on shuffle and Nutshell comes on, it's like, satellite dish trouble? Nah, I'm just trying to kill myself.
Yeah. I saw like a diagram type thing post that was talking about the animated dads that you like and what that means about you, and the two that I really like, Bob and Hank Hill, are both considered like good people. But then there's like Homer Simpson and the Family Guy guy. They're like
Griffin.
shitty people, and I'm all like, oh, okay, I get that. I like this. I like the shows about the good dads, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I do like Bob's Burgers. I haven't watched Bob's Burgers in ages.
I've seen all of it. When they're about to start episode 300, and I was like, I've seen 300 episodes of a show because I've seen them all. So shit, that's crazy.
I think I've seen the first 3 seasons and the movie.
Honestly, I didn't love the movie. I wanted it to be like kind of different, and it ended up just being like a 90-minute episode of the show, which I guess makes sense. But you always kind of want something to have like an element where it's like very different from the show. Like I almost wanted it to be like that SpongeBob movie where all of a sudden they're in real life, they're on the beach, surfing on David Hasselhoff or whatever.
I'm David Hasselhoff. That's dude. The SpongeBob movie's a fucking masterpiece. Yeah, I'll go ahead and say this. Especially the first 3 seasons of SpongeBob and the movie is up there with the most perfect children's television ever.
Yeah.
SpongeBob is fucking genius.
So speaking of that, sorry, we're on an animation thing here. Last night I got the first couple of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles VHS releases from like
nice.
the late 80s. And I watched the first one last night, which basically is the premiere, which means it like covers the origin of the Turtles and meeting Shredder, meeting Bebop and Rocksteady.
Yeah.
And like, sure, the animation's fucking crude as shit, but I genuinely laughed so many times during it, and I'm like, this is really good. Like it aged really well to where some of the jokes but there's even parts of it where I go, this wouldn't be in a kid's show anymore.
Yeah.
And there it's just like SpongeBob. There are jokes that I can tell are aimed at parents or older people. Younger people wouldn't understand what they just said right there. And so I'm just like, and that makes me happy because like Ninja Turtles is really the only like thing from my childhood that still kind of gives me that feeling, everything else has kind of been left behind and it doesn't really do anything for me. So going back and seeing this and it actually feeling good, like this is really actually pretty good for what it is. It made me really happy because I'm like, oh shit, man, this is like, now I want to get all the Ninja Turtles VHS tapes. Anyway. Still never seen Ninja Turtles 3, the movie though. Still never seen that. Just because it looked lame back in the day and I never got, I mean, let's be fair. Number 2 is a big drop from number 1 anyway. Even with Vanilla Ice, and Super Shredder. But I just remember like the whole idea of the third one, I just went, I don't want to see this. And I still never have, but I'm sure I will very soon. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. What was it as well? I must have watched that pizza delivery episode of SpongeBob like 100 times at least.
Yeah.
That one is that's top tier television.
Yeah, I think I've said that before. That was the one kid show from when my kid was younger that I legitimately enjoyed. Everything else annoyed the fuck out of me, but that one I always laughed some point in every episode.
That there's something to be said for how the show was written that makes it hold up with adults, because I saw someone explain it, and they said when you're a child watching SpongeBob, you get why SpongeBob is the way he is. He's a kid. He's the eyes of the child in the show.
Yeah.
When you become an adult you're Squidward and you see everything for the bullshit that it is.
Yeah.
And like all of a sudden there's this like switch where, you know, as much as you'd like to be SpongeBob, you, especially in the first 3 seasons, because it really plays off of very often either Squidward will go way too far with something, or, you know, or he'll learn something in the end. And that's the real heart of that early part of that show. You know, when Steven Hillenburg left, the writing got a little bit more formulaic, and it was just like, SpongeBob and Patrick are gonna torture Squidward for 11 minutes because that's just the show.
Yeah.
But those first 3 and the movie are just straight up. Even as an adult, they hold up because it's funny as shit, but B, there's enough like adult humor in there too to where it just stands up on its own. It's just great shit.
Yeah. So there you go, everybody. Our animation chunk.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Well, with that, where were we? What number am I on?
I'm not keeping track of numbers. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We should be on 7.
Okay, my number 7. My number 7 is Burn My Eyes by Machine Head.
Nice.
Now, this is another album that you had in a last slot.
Yeah, I'm not a Machine Head fan, so
yeah. But amazingly enough, the one that everyone cites as like the best Machine Head album, you had it at the bottom slot. It's always.
And I didn't know that. I didn't know that was like one that everybody loved. I just legitimately was just like, okay, didn't do anything for me really.
Well, here's the angle that I'm coming at it from, is that this album is kind of like it comes right at the changing of the guard between old school metal and the modern metal post 94 that grew.
Yeah.
And this album to me, you know, I can see in retrospect how you know, experiencing all these like genre changes and shifts and whatnot, noticing all this stuff and this kind of being old hat by the time you get to 94.
Yeah.
However, this was my gateway 90s album, and this is the album that said to me, yo, metal from the 90s, do you find yourself liking the groovy metal the most? And it was like, yeah. You know, yeah, I know you like that bass bit in Holier Than Thou by Metallica. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Right. And basically it's that thing of, I already knew about Pantera, but the Pantera that I knew just felt like I only had I think it was Vulgar Display of Power at the time. So to me, Pantera it felt just like heavier Metallica to me at the time. You know, I'm still a dumb 11-year-old, 12-year-old kid. I'm like, yeah, I don't really know the full history yet, you know, but I'm staring at all of this cool shit, and I just want to absorb all of it.
Yeah, yeah.
And this album for me became that first real major stepping stone into 90s metal, to where it's like, hey, riffs, man.
And honestly, like if I remember right, like my issue with the band is very rarely the music. It's almost always the vocals, which I'm sure I put it in much better terms in the actual episode when I had time to think about it. But it always felt so heavy-handedly metal dude type like vocals.
Yeah,
except for when he was rapping, and I thought he was quite good.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? Is that when you the best part about the Machine Head episode is, didn't you have their first new metal album at the top?
I probably
Burning Red, I think it was. Yeah. Well, this album for me was that real push to say, hey, sonically, this is where you're at, because it still has that big, spacious, but also heavy thing going on. and this paired with my uncle starting like a groove covers band, grunge covers band at the time. All of a sudden, I was being bombarded with like '90s shit, left, right, and center, and
Yeah.
this was another planets aligning moment where it was like, hey, like the first half of the '90s just there's nothing bad. It was that thing of like, if it's '90s and it's heavy and it's just particularly '90 to '94, I was all in on it, and I
Yeah.
just became obsessed with this time in music around 2012, and we're gonna get there because if anything, probably like the most pivotal year for me really becoming who I am now is following getting into this album.
Okay.
Because Burn My Eyes was a real this is mine
Yeah.
moment, you know? I was like, I want this.
And and to piggyback off something that you said, you were talking about if it's from the '90s, it's all good, and that like my harsh criticism of bands like Machine Head are only because they exist in that time period. Because if you if we're if we're driving in a car and you put on something from Burn My Eyes, I'm gonna be fucking jamming out to it and probably throwing some riff faces because like it's good shit. It's just, it's one of those things where like unfortunately it came out around that time where, for me anyway, obviously people have different perspectives, but for me, it's buried underneath so much other amazing stuff that I hear that and I go, this is fine. And sometimes fine is not good enough for me, but that's just my opinion on that one.
All I'll say is Davidian was on a Kerrang anniversary compilation they put out. I think it was like Kerrang 30 years old. And Davidian was one of the tracks on it. And good Lord, when I heard the ending of that song where it drops out, it was the first time in my life I had like an irreversible riff face where when that breakdown kicks in, it's like, oh, nice. And the thing that my uncle mentioned as well was that he noticed the distinct changing of the guard was him turning on MTV and seeing the Davidian breakdown right as it kicked in. He said he turned on the TV. It was like, and he was glued to the screen. He said, "What the fuck is this?" Because it's drop B tuning, but it's catchy and it's. He was only like 14 at the time as well, so we both had this experience, some certain amount of years apart. But the first time I heard Davidian, I just had, I'd like to pick my contorted jaw off of the ground. I was just like, oh, that's filthy.
Yeah.
So I mean, simply put, this was an album as well that I played a lot on the drums when I first started playing the drums.
Yeah.
So for me, it was one of those really good albums that had a lot of fast bits and a lot of slow bits. So it was like working on stamina. You'd get something like A Nation on Fire that for the most part is a slow burn, and then the last like minute of it is just Slayer mode. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a super fun album to play on drums. I'll say that. So with that. Before this becomes the Burn My Eyes hour, that is my number 7, and that is Burn My Eyes, my gateway into my favorite era of music as a whole.
Nice. This album comes from that era of music, and literally we're starting to get into the albums that. Are going to be absolutely no surprise to anybody that ever watches any of my shit. This one was a big deal for me in 1992 because I was always looking for, there was, after Nevermind came out, once I got pushed into the direction of like, I want to make music, and I realized that there's music that I connect with on a level that I want to play this on guitar. I want to play music that sounds like this. There was always a distinction for me because there was always the music that I would hear and I would absolutely love, like, death metal and thrash metal, that I never had a desire to play that music. But then there was other music that just sort of spoke directly to me, like this is, for you, and this is what's going to come out of you, kind of thing. And this album was very big for that. And this one, Creep Diets
Nice.
by Fudge Tunnel. Yeah, this really and this is a good example of, I felt like an album was made for me. And at the time, it really was, because nobody else I knew liked this album. I didn't hear anybody talking about Fudge Tunnel. I was the only person talking about Fudge Tunnel. I know other people knew who they were, because shortly after this album came out, they toured with Sepultura, and so I know that people knew who they were. But in my age group, which would have been 14, 15 years old, whatever. I don't know math. Yeah, it's 14 years old. Nobody was talking about this. This was my album. This was my band. And I still feel that way now, because there are more fans now of Fudge Tunnel than there used to be. But I still feel like it's a very small amount of people. And maybe the name of the band turns them off. I don't know. But this album, just like the weird heaviness of it all. I even, like, when I interviewed Alex Newport, I even told him that the reason why it spoke to me is because it felt like the middle ground between Metallica and Nirvana. It felt like it was kind of in the middle, because you had metallic elements, you had noise elements, but it felt like outsider music. It did not feel like your football player from high school wasn't going to get into this. And I was like, that spoke to me. And it's infected. Like, you hear, if you know them well enough, in songs that I've written ever since, you can hear little elements of like, oh, that was inspired by a Fudge Tunnel bit. Because and there's a couple other albums in my top 10 that have that same influence on me musically. So my number 7, is that number 7? Yeah. Creep Diets by Fudge Tunnel.
That is another ranking we should do.
I mean, it's only 3 albums.
But we could
also put in, we could also do Fudge Cake, which is a compilation, which is like 2 EPs put together. That could be included too.
Any small rankings invites the opportunity for additional shit to be thrown in. So
yeah.
I mean, we did that in the first episode. We had Nirvana, so we threw Incesticide and Unplugged in there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we could do that.
Well, absolutely. We can do whatever we want. It's our show.
Cool.
Number 6.
Cool. Keeping things grungy. I've mentioned up to this point it's been pretty metal heavy, but a huge part of my love for, music in general. I mean, look at my shirt. I mean, Alice in Chains, they're metal and grunge simultaneously, I guess. But they're undeniably huge in the 90s, especially that first half. Yeah. So what was the gateway album for grunge, I hear you asking? Well, it is Core by Stone Temple Pilots.
Nice. Oh, yeah. Great one.
Sonically, potentially my favorite production on any album ever. This, to me, may be my favorite sounding album of all time.
Yeah, it sounds amazing.
Because it's got it's produced by Brendan O'Brien for a start. It's got that heavy but spacious thing going on. Mm-hmm. There's lots of extra additional chimey, clean guitar over already heavy guitars. And I love layering, I love hearing a distorted guitar with a clean guitar doing jangly shit over the top of it.
Yeah.
That has always appealed to me, and I'm shocked that it's not more utilized in music, full stop. Like, it's a sound to me that's so cool, it baffles me that it's not done more. However, this is 53 minutes and 36 seconds of just that. And hot damn, dude. I mean,
it's also an album of that length that, like, I don't even notice that it's that long, because that's
Dude,
normally a
yeah.
lot of albums go that long, and it's just there's a point where it drags at some point, and that one doesn't for me.
For me, like, Where the River Goes does not feel like an 8.5 minute song
No, no,
because I get completely enveloped and lost in it. I love it. This was actually weirdly enough, I don't know if I've mentioned this before. I had this like subgenre of albums I called my bath jams.
Oh yeah,
where
yeah.
where I'd lay in the bathtub and just listen to this album on my laptop, cranked up as loud as it would go next to the bath, and that was a cool time. Cool time to listen to music.
I mean, I've always said that like Plush is to me one of the greatest songs of the '90s, but Plush is also a song that evokes a feeling in me that it's hard to describe, but it feels very almost just like you're floating in a warm pool of water.
Yeah.
Which like, so there's a handful of bands that have tracks or many tracks that give me that, just everything feels very nice and floaty right now. Like everything's all right as long as this song is playing,
Yeah. Yeah, especially for me, I have that nostalgic connection to GTA San Andreas with Plush, because Plush, this is kind of like, how I mentioned my uncle started like a grunge band around this time.
Yeah.
So I was playing a lot of GTA San Andreas. San Andreas is set in 1992. It's got a grunge and alternative metal station, and Plush is on it. And I remember hearing Plush and thinking, what a great fucking song this is.
Yeah.
Who is this? I just, every time I heard this song pop up on the radio in the game, I was like, this is such a unique sounding song.
Yeah.
Because it's like heavy but soft, rockin' but chill, atmospheric but also not overproduced. And the big thing for me, I always found at the time, is that this album, especially on Plush, has these cool psychedelic sections like the pre-chorus, where it goes super jangly. And burning, and I feel it. That whole part. Honestly, you know how you've got these like slowed and reverbed 10-hour loop videos that people chill out to now?
Yeah.
Right? I could listen to 10 straight hours of the pre-chorus section, that one section of Plush, for hours on end and not get sick of it. I love that.
I agree.
That D chord progression is just so fucking good. And the way it's produced and the way it makes it... This album always felt like my bath jams because it felt wet. Like there's a real wetness to the guitars that I think really serves the songs on this album.
Yeah.
And it's nowhere more prominent than on Plush.
Also, sometimes, like that song was a real eye opener for me with like chords. Because I don't know
Weird chords.
I don't know what you would call it. What is it? Would it be considered the middle eight of the song? Because they do it more than once. But the way you go, like that part, that first chord that it plays, I just remember going like, "What is that chord? That sounds fantastic."
Yeah.
But there's like that whole song is like that.
There's so many strange chords in that song that it really does make me wonder, how the fuck do you come up with that progression? Like the chords in it are so weird and strange. Like
those guys were just fucking super talented songwriters in that respect. Whereas it like they got lumped in with like, I really think that like the funny thing is that the only reason they were ever lumped in with Pearl Jam is because originally Weiland sounds similar to Eddie Vedder, but other than that, the similarity's kind of in there, except for the fact that they're rock bands.
Yeah, like the thing that always stood out to me is like there's even moments on this album that are like metal-esque,
Yeah.
Something like Piece of Pie is undeniably heavy. If you put that on an Alice in Chains album, people wouldn't bat an eye.
Yeah.
You got Dead and Bloated. The album starts off heavy as shit.
Yeah.
Dead and Bloated is heavier than any Pearl Jam song.
I mean,
like,
true. Yes.
Pearl Jam are fucking fantastic, but they're not a heavy band.
Yeah.
They're a rock band. At most, they're a hard rock band. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, I would attribute their songwriting, if you cast production aside, they're much more classic rock in terms of their approach to the whole Seattle sound than the likes of. I would even say that Nirvana, whether or not they'd like this or not, are more overtly metal than Pearl Jam.
Oh yeah, I would agree with that.
And as much as I love 10, and 10 is one of my favorite albums, it's not, there's not really any metal.
No.
So this always felt to me like the perfect middle ground grunge album, where it's like you took a little bit of Pearl Jam, you took a little bit of Soundgarden, took a little bit of Nirvana, took a little bit of Alice in Chains. And what you end up with is what I believe to be sonically the crowning achievement of early 90s production.
Yeah.
I think the guitars sound great, the drums sound great, the bass sounds great, the vocals sound great, which is why it always kind of bummed me out on Purple that, very often, right, I'm all for a band trying something new.
Yeah.
Part of me wishes Purple wasn't as dry as it is compared to Core.
But I love it.
Yeah.
Whenever you say that, if you go listen to that album now compared to like other shit that's come out since, that album still has a lot of reverb going on it.
Oh, it does, but I feel like Purple to me is like, and this is not me dogging Purple, it's a close second.
Yeah.
But the thing I love about Core is that there's like a, not to get pretentious, but it's almost like this trance-like state from start to finish that you go into, where it's like, this has a vibe start to finish. Mm-hmm. Purple always struck me as a selection of individual vibes that are really, really good.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah,
and it's that thing of when I first heard Core and loved it so much that it took me a while to, because you heard these albums in sequence as they come out. You had time to digest all of this stuff.
Yeah,
I'm sure by the time you'd heard Core 200 times, you really appreciated Purple because it sounds so different. And there are so many cases where I would like praise a band for doing a new thing. I just think Core is so perfect. It's that thing of something about it sonically. Every single box you could have ticked for me is ticked on Core. Yeah. Core is, get you a man that talks about you how Eddie talks about Core.
Yeah. I didn't get into the album right away.
Boom, tits, boom, ass, boom.
Because like when the album initially came out, I didn't like Sex Type Thing. That was the first song they put out, and I still think it's the weak point on the album. But if there is a weak point, but it was a friend of mine dubbing me the album, saying, "No, you need to listen to the full album." That's really what drew me in and made me a big fan. I just thought that Sex Type Thing wasn't out of all the music that was going on around the time, that didn't make them stand out for me. But all the rest of the singles they put out off of that album did. But yeah, so at first I was like, nah, I'm not into this band. But very quickly I was like, nope, never mind. I was wrong.
Dude, Wicked Garden, the first time I heard that, I saw the music video for it as well. Like that, there's really cool, like, ringing things over that really heavy riff. Like, the attention to detail that was put into this album is so good. And like I say, if Core is a 10, Purple is a 9 for me. But I just love Core so fucking much.
He loves Core, everybody.
And if I would die completely fulfilled if I made an album that sounds like this. If I could turn around and say, hey, I was a part of that, I'd be like, I'd never need to do anything again. Oh, man. Yeah, it's great. It's great shit. Yeah.
All right. What number was that?
That's my number 6.
All right, my number 6. It's weird that this is number 6 for me, but this is another one that was my brain getting exposed to a new genre of. And honestly, I would say this was probably the first full-on metal album I ever owned, because prior to that, everything I listened to was Van Halen, Skid Row, Guns N' Roses, Living Color, Faith No More. They were those that had metal elements, but none of them were a metal band. Then I got turned on to Anthrax.
Nice.
State of Euphoria. I always tell the story that it's famous story for me that it was there was a girl in my math class that said, "Hey, you're into like this kind of stuff. I'm gonna let you borrow a couple of cassettes that you might be into." And one of them was the debut album from Trickster that I at the time didn't get into, but I love it now. And then the other one was this, and this fucking blew my mind. And led me into, I heard this before I heard a full, Metallica album. But Anthrax was the thing that nudged me into like, oh, this sound, you like this sound. And then I soon figured out that sound was thrash metal. And it, from that point, Metallica, Testament, all of that shit kind of fell into place for me. But it's why, like, when people talk shit about this album, first of all, it's kind of baffling to me because I've heard the album so many times that I just go, what is not good about this? But, if you want to get very nitpicky, I guess you can find something that you don't like about it. But to me, it's one of the best albums that they ever did. I don't know if I would call it the best. I don't know. I don't even know if it's my favorite. It's really tough with a band like Anthrax because, they put out banger after banger for a little while there that I have no arguments over anybody saying it's their favorite Anthrax album. So, but yeah, Save Euphoria really like fully pushed me into metal where I would just randomly hear, songs and I would just, there was always that part of me that go, I'm not quite ready for that. I don't think I'm quite ready for that. But Anthrax was the first one that went like, no, you're into this. You're into this sound.
Yeah.
Get into it. And then all of a sudden, like I was a fan of all these thrash bands, and then that led me down, even heavier paths. But so State of Euphoria, my number 6, super influential, very important album, and probably began my love of the color yellow because I'm just like, oh, it looks so good. It's pleasing to the eye.
Top 10 yellow metal albums coming soon.
I don't know. There's not a lot that have good yellow album covers, but there are a handful that I look at it and I go, oh, this just looks so good. And is it the yellow that does it for me? I don't know. Anyway, all right. Top 5. Is it 1, 2, 3, 4? Yeah, 5. Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Okay, my top 5. My number 5. Okay, so this is another one of me taking creative license with what I'm calling an album.
Okay.
But it's so important to me that I've got to. So imagine, right? This is around the same time as.
I literally thought you were about to go Imagine by John Lennon.
I was going to say, so picture this. You're me around the time of like getting into core, and I'm like, oh, I like grunge now. Mm-hmm. Well, San Andreas yielded such a positive result with core that I thought to myself, well, it makes sense that you. Eddie's based. He likes core. So what we're dealing with here is we're dealing with a case of someone thinking, okay, I like this particular zone. Okay, I'm figuring things out now.
Yeah.
I like this sound. Well, my number 5 is Faith No More original album series. Mainly Real Thing and Angel Dust, but it features The Real Thing, Live at Brixton, Angel Dust, King for a Day, and Album of the Year. Now, I mainly gravitated towards Real Thing and Angel Dust because those are of the San Andreas time period, early 90s.
And also, Angel Dust was an album that just barely didn't make the top 10. It's nice to talk about Faith No More.
Now, here's the thing: if Stone Temple Pilots Core is my favorite sounding album, Angel Dust is my favorite approach to an album ever.
Yeah, it was so mind opening to me when it came out.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not 1 second here wasted. It's all great stuff. And the thing is, I'm gonna mention the Real Thing as well, because I know, because the Real Thing tends to get a little bit of, you know, in the deep down depths of Faith No More. Mm-hmm. People are often like, well, you know, Real Thing was their breakthrough, but like, you know, Pan didn't really have any, you know, songwriting contributions, and it's blah, 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 right? Yeah. It blew the fucking doors open when it came out, right? It changed the fucking game. So, you know, anybody who's dissing the Real Thing in retrospect, allow me to remind you of the album in question. From out of nowhere, epic, falling to pieces, surprise you're dead, zombie eaters, the Real Thing. That is like the most perfect side A of an album I could think of. And then you've got Underwater Love, Morning After, Woodpecker from Mars, the instrumental. Now, depending on which version you had, you would get the War Pigs cover and Edge of the World as well. Yeah. And the track order was different on the cassette. Either way, I grew up with the CD album, and I got, you know, your standard with the bonus track as well. Yeah. So it's great stuff, and it was a real opener for me already. It was like, oh, I like stuff from this time that's also a little weird too. Mm-hmm. And really, the Real Thing is tame compared to Angel Dust, because once I'd burned through the Real Thing and checked out Angel Dust, because I'd seen the video for Epic on Kerrang, and I was like, oh shit, this looks epic. And I checked that album out first, and then I checked out Angel Dust. Mm-hmm. And Angel Dust was like, it just blew my fucking mind. And a huge part of why I went out and got this CD set is because that morning, I just recently got a Kerrang magazine, sorry. Yeah. And I was sat in bed, and I had it by my bed, and I picked it up. I'd just woken up, and I knew that we were going to Truro that day to, you know, do some shopping or shit. And I decided to come along because I wanted to have a look in HMV. Mm-hmm. And I, you know, woke up, picture, I'm about just turned 14. I just woke up, grabbed the Kerrang magazine, and fell asleep reading. Open it up. Oh, there's this Faith No More band that looks kind of quirky and fun. What's going on here? They had a little strip down the side alongside like a review of their recent gig. Mm-hmm. And I was looking like, why are they all dressed like vicars? But I was always like, oh, cool. There's like a thing down the side that reviews all of their albums. In retrospect, right? Anyone giving Introduce Yourself 3 out of 5 Ks, fuck out of here, it's at least a 4. Secondly,
yeah, I agree.
Secondly, you know, you got We Care a Lot and Introduce Yourself, they both had like 3. But I noticed that Real Thing and Angel Dust were both 5 out of 5. And I thought, oh shit, these guys must be good. And I just went to HMV, and it was living like rent free in my head all day. And I went into HMV, and I thought, well, you know, I liked Core. Fuck it, let's get a Faith No More album. And then I was like, you know, flicking through the CDs, and I see, oh no way, there's this great value pack that if I, you know, 3 weeks pocket money is 5 albums right here. So I got this little pack, and I tell you what, stall for a moment because I think I've got it right on the shelf. Hold on.
Okay, everybody. We're gonna. Well, this is not very good for the podcast listeners, but for the people watching YouTube, you get to see this original album pack, which I think is one of those ones where it's like it's not jewel cases, it's like cardboard slips, or maybe I'm wrong. I see a jewel case, so maybe I'm wrong. I'm waiting for Eddie to put his cans back on. Okay. I thought it was going to be one of those ones that had the cardboard slips of the albums, or does it?
Here you go. Wait for it. So it's got your Faith No More
Yeah.
and the 5 patent releases, and then I take them out, and you've got
Oh, it is the cardboard slips. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I got
those album
these.
packs are really cool. Like for people getting into, yeah, and getting into bands, that's like an amazing way to do it.
Yeah, I mean this right here. You got the Angel
Yeah.
Dust one.
Yeah.
You also got these two as well,
Yeah.
and I mean it's these are potentially
That makes me
like
excited for 14-year-old you just thinking about it. I'm all like, oh man, to come home with that pack of
yeah.
albums. Yeah.
I coming home from that trip and like loading them onto the computer, and then just being absolutely bombarded with some of the most diverse music I'd ever heard that was also identifiably only able to come from this band of misfits.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I found myself drawn to The Real Thing and Angel Dust the most because I really like Jim Martin's guitar playing as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as much as I love King for a Day and Album of the Year, I just love that original Faith No More sound with Jim Martin's guitar in the mix as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So Angel Dust is another album that, because of, how old I was when that came out, because I was 14 when that one came out.
Same age.
I didn't know anybody that liked that album. It was just me. In fact, I knew people that thought it was fucking awful. In fact, a lot of people thought it was awful. And then in retrospect, everyone's like, oh, I've always been into Angel Dust. And I'm like, no, you weren't.
Yeah.
It's okay that you are now. Just admit you didn't like it, because it's fine. But I just
You were all stupid and I'm better than you.
yeah. No, I just remember just because I bought it on cassette when it came out, and because I was already a huge fan of The Real Thing. Honestly, Faith No More was like one of my first big obsessions as a new band. Well, they
Yeah.
weren't. I thought they were new. Originally I didn't even know they had a singer before Mike Patton, but I figured it out quickly. But so I got that when it came out. I just remember just repeatedly playing it on my Walkman, and just it almost felt like every single listen I was kind of discovering something new about it, and it was just really it really sort of opened my mind to albums don't need to sound a certain way all the way through. In fact, I like it when bands throw in different stuff that you're not expecting. It's actually very pleasing to me. And so, yeah, I would say Angel Dust was really my very first example of a band I liked coming out with something a little bit different, and me going, oh, this is way better than them doing another Real Thing. And then that's been my mindset pretty much ever since. But sucks that it makes me feel sad that album got left out of my top 10. But I'm glad you're talking about some Faith No More.
Well, that's where I come into the mix.
Yeah.
I give a little love to the unsung hero. Cool. Well,
Are you done with that?
Yeah, that's my number.
Faith
my
No
number
More
5.
original album pack.
Yes, original album series.
All right, so this is out of everything that I'm going to be talking about, this is the least known. For some people, it's very well known, but for a lot of folks, not very well known.
The Black Album.
I was going to. Here's the thing. So to preface this, my initial thought was to include a Fugazi album, because Fugazi is a very important band to me. But the particular sound that Fugazi did that spoke to me, I'd actually gotten into a similar sound by another band prior to them. And this band really turned me on to different types of songwriting, and especially guitar melody writing and using discordant notes in interesting ways and interesting time signatures. And so this was a really influential album for me, and still love it today. For Your Own Special Sweetheart by Jawbox.
Nice.
This is an original vinyl pressing. You can't get them with this cover anymore.
Wow.
Which is yeah. I forked over some money, but it was worth it. But yeah, the guitar playing on this album really opened up my mind to the things that some of the noisier grunge bands like Nirvana and other people were doing, this leaned heavily into like, oh, it's like a way of like taking notes that don't sound like they go together at all, but then they sound fantastic together in the context of this different style of songwriting, which is, you know, for Jawbox and then later Fugazi that I would get into the post-hardcore side of things, where these bands were experimenting with noise in different, you know, capacity, but Jawbox also had a lot of melody as well. And I got to interview Jay Robbins from Jawbox recently. That was my last actual interview I did, and he was fucking great. But it's his guitar playing, his songwriting, that really, whenever you hear those kind of things in my songwriting, I'm lifting it from Jawbox almost all the time. Whenever I hear a part and I go, this note that doesn't quite melodically go with it should go here. It all leads back to For Your Own Special Sweetheart. And so I owe that album a lot because it really, like all that time period, like I'm telling you, around 1990 to 1994, there was this constant, it felt like, you know, that's why I got so discouraged in the late 90s and early 2000s, because there was this momentum that never stopped for like 5 years of my life, where literally it felt like weekly there was a new band or something new that was like, okay, this is this new thing. So now all of a sudden my arsenal of musical knowledge and musical influence is just getting larger and larger and larger, and all of it is fucking amazing. And so, like, I always say, like, I felt so spoiled by all of the great shit that was coming out, because you can literally, you know, show me that image where it's got all the cassettes, you know, stacked, you know, Nevermind, Bad Motorfinger, User Illusion, all that stuff. I look at that and I go, that's right. Those albums fucking were awesome. But for somebody like me, there was also all of this lesser known shit that was just constantly coming out. So it was just like, it was, you know, it was so exciting. And then, so Jawbox was on the tail end of that, really, of me discovering music that just expanded my horizons. So is that number 5? Yeah, number 5, For Your Own Special Sweetheart by Jawbox.
Nice. Sweet. Well, I guess that brings me to my number 4.
Mm-hmm.
My number 4 is America's Least Wanted by Ugly Kid Joe.
Oh, nice.
So this one for me,
always happy to talk about this album.
I mean, you've got it right behind you on the wall, right next to Jawbox.
Right next to Jawbox. And underneath Fudge Tunnel. And then Anthrax.
I was going to say, it's like I've got a little cheat sheet here. I'm like, he hasn't talked about these guys yet.
Unfortunately, Sacred Reich didn't make it onto the list, but I love them with all my heart. So,
well, you know, they make it on the wall every week.
They do, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, at the end of the day, for me, this album, it sits in that world of everything I love coexisting all at once for a very brief time in the early 90s. Mm-hmm. And 92 is really the peak of that, where grunge is established, but like the glam metal hard rock stuff isn't completely dead either. And there's a little bit of thrash influence too. And this album for me is like, if you want a fun hour of music that, you know, is just great from start to finish, that at times doesn't take itself too seriously, and at other times is just beautifully made.
Also very diverse. People seem to miss how diverse of a band that, especially around that time, they were. Yeah,
I mean, for God's sake, I mean, you know, look at the track list. You got Neighbor, Goddamn Devil. I mean, Rob Halford guest stars on that.
Yeah.
Come Tomorrow. I fucking love Come Tomorrow. That's another bath jam. That's got a lot of cool, clean guitar over a chill, heavy riff. Panhandling Prince. That's a great fucking song. Busy Bee is one of the most beautiful songs ever written. I'm putting my foot down.
It's a great song, yeah.
I love that song so much. You got Don't Go, which is, you know, probably dips a toe. One of the biggest toe dips into the hair metal. realm.
Yeah.
But it's immediately followed by So Damn Cool, which is just
That's like grungy, that song.
yeah, it's like grunge and groove metal at the same time. I've
Yeah.
always loved So Damn Cool.
Yep.
Same side is like a funk metal. It's like funk metal porn music. It's
Yeah.
great. Cats in the Cradle, obviously is a cover. It's an excellent cover.
It is good, but it's like it's weird because sometimes there's a really good cover of a song that I just think is fucking awful. It's just like, they did good, but like overall, like that song, I'm just like, ugh, that song, fuck that song. But the only way to ever get me to listen to Cats in the Cradle is if it's the Ugly Kid Show version.
That is a good version of it, though. I do love that song.
Yeah.
And also, it gets extra point for me because it features a sitar, which is cool. Sitars are underutilized. They need to be used more. I'll keep trying.
Maybe one of us needs to buy a sitar or find out how to do a sitar in our music.
I've been umming and eyeing with it for years.
And saxophone and also.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And then of course you got I'll Keep Trying.
It's a great one too.
Everything About You. Now, Everything About You is what made me get into Ugly Kid Joe. I think it's probably the case for everyone who gets into Ugly Kid Joe.
Yeah.
But like the thing that stood out to me is like around this time I realized, oh my God, so many things were lining up. I love grunge. When was grunge kind of at its peak? Like, kind of 92.
Yeah.
When is your favorite game set? 92. Oh, I have that. Oh, what else came out in 92? Fucking Wayne's World, a movie that you've already well established to have loved since you were a kid. Oh, that's tangential with Bill and Ted. Am I just the early 90s metalhead that was born far too late? Maybe.
That's that polycore you were talking about in last episode.
Dude, we're working on some. I'm thinking up some shit behind the scenes. I'm gonna establish polycore as a genre.
Okay, I like it.
And I think we should use Grave Circuit as a vehicle to achieve that.
Okay, yeah.
Because I got some tracks that would fit the bill. Fuck it, we could call the album Polycore. Let's do that.
We could. One of our albums, because I have a feeling that we're going to put out a lot of shit at the rate that we're talking.
We got a lot of stuff in the pipeline. If you like that first Grave Circuit album,
sorry,
and
because that's not gonna be what it always sounds like.
No, I'm down to, there'll be things we revisit. There'll be left turns, but learn to expect the unexpected, motherfucker, because you are about to embark on a ride. But yeah, simply put, Everything About You was a major gateway for me because I recognized it this is what made me pick it up. I loved Wayne's World.
Yeah.
I always liked that song in the background of that scene. I was like, oh yeah, I need to remember to check that band out. And I always forgot. And then one day this is the most me evening ever. One day I was playing San Andreas in the corner and I had Kerrang on the TV in the background. I heard bling, bling, bling. That's that band I've been meaning to, I turned around, watched the entire music video and immediately went and actually, before I got a physical copy of it, I just downloaded it on iTunes immediately. I said, Mom, computer, please. And I got it outright, and I listened to it every day for like a year.
Yeah.
This album's baked into my mind. Madman is a great song. I mean, I know Everything About You and Madman are on Uglier Than as ugly as they want to be.
Yeah. Except for they weirdly re-recorded the vocals for Madman, which I thought was weird, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. All I know is
it still sounds good. They just all of a sudden he just cut out the bad words, and I'm like, that's weird. You're
Yeah.
Ugly Kid Joe. Shouldn't you be? And like, it's still an album that has a parental advisory, and yet you're like, nah, this song doesn't need any curse words.
If anything, you should be adding more swears.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm fucking motherfucking man, and I'm fucking, but
It's like literally like extending your middle finger and being like "F you." Like, okay, you're already doing the finger.
Oh, but like the last track, Mr. Record Man, that was like my go-to sleep song. Like that was the song I'd play at the end of the day, and I'd be like, right, time to turn in. Din, 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 din. Like that's such a relaxing song for me.
Yeah.
And it's one of those songs that's placed perfectly because it's kind of a breath mint. I like albums with a breath mint at the end, like, Angel Dust had it as well. I mean, for me, I'll always associate Easy with that.
Yeah.
But Midnight Cowboy also functions as that as well, especially after you get through Jizzlobber.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
I mean, ultimately, this album is just part of my DNA. This is like
mine too. Yeah.
This is a top 5 all-timer desert island disc for me.
I've said it many times that, like, if you were to put me in 1992 in album form, it would be the America's Least Wanted. That's kind of like who I was around that time.
Yeah. I'm in full agreement. If you 20 years on, me in 2012 discovering this album, which is now a 33-year-old album. For me that puts time into perspective.
Yeah.
So, I mean, shit. But yeah, simply put, Ugly Kid Joe, America's Least Wanted. That's the next step in my musical evolution.
Yeah.
All right. And Ugly Kid Joe will play a part in my next pick because there's a tangential thing that ties it to this next step. So
okay,
over to you.
Well, this one is another. Well, I mean, this band is a given for this, but probably not this album if you're not ready for it. But my number 4, the Black Album.
None more black.
Yeah, the Black Album by Metallica. Really, for not much more of a reason than they're my favorite band of all time, and this was like the gateway album for me, because prior to this I had only heard one, and I liked that song, but I didn't hear "And Justice for All" until after this. Like, this was the best example of what the rest of my life would be like, where like I hear something that I really like, and I don't just get into the album that song is on. I immediately have to own everything by that band. And I think Metallica was the first example of that happening, where I was just like, this is so good. That one song was really good. Let's go backwards. And it like, yeah. And then obviously, for Metallica fans, that's like, the equivalent of the Faith No More box set, only I didn't get all 5 albums at the same time. They were months apart, but it was very quick for me. And Black Album was kind of, it was similar to State of Euphoria, where it nudged me into this world of like, yeah, you're into this metal stuff. Because let's not, we have love for all Metallica and in Black Album here, but saying that Black Album is not a metal album is one of the stupidest things that you could possibly say.
Oh, for sure.
Because like you're essentially negating most metal at that point.
Yeah.
It does. It's like, yeah, you're just leaving the fast stuff and everything else you're throwing away. Yeah, just the Black Album was just one of those albums that was so pleasing in every way possible when it came out for me. Songwriting wise, production wise, everything about it, the way it sounds, I was just obsessed with it. And it really turned me into a huge Metallica fan, obviously. Very quickly they were my favorite band of all time, but then also, metal became a very important thing by that point, because I think I got into Anthrax in 1990, so it was literally like right before this. So all that happened very, in the grand scheme of things, it was very quick. But to me, it felt like a very long time between the two. But yeah, Black Album goes on here just because it's the most important Metallica album, and I love Metallica. Yeah, so there you go. Black Album.
Cool. So
okay, dogs are fighting outside, but yeah, okay. All right, go ahead.
okay, so my number 3, and this is kind of connected to the whole Ugly Kid Joe thing. So my number 3 is Slave to the Grind by Skid Row.
Oh yeah.
So I've mentioned an album prior that had maybe a couple of, hair metal adjacent sections.
Yes.
This album comes from a band that made its name in that scene, but then got heavy. And for me, this album in particular, I mean, I got the first 2 Skid Row albums at the same time because when I was about 15 in like late 2013, my uncle said, hey, fucking Ugly Kid Joe are playing Exeter University with Skid Row. I was like, oh, fucking A. I've never heard of Skid Row. Skid Row were the headliner.
Yeah.
I hadn't really heard Skid Row at that point. And then I find out that, this first album sounds like something that would be in GTA Vice City. And then I heard the second album. I was like, oh, shit. They got heavy, too. So for me, I really, really gravitated towards this album. I mean, I'll just list off the singles. Monkey Business, Slave to the Grind, Wasted Time, In a Darkened Room, Quicksand Jesus. I mean, I know it's a little heavy on the ballads, but...
Three. There's 3. But here's the thing that's so great about that album is that there's 3 ballads on it. But they it's almost like they're deceptive because they're not love songs. They're all heavy for the most part, like heavy subject matter.
Dude, In a Darkened Room is dark as shit.
Yeah, and that's what I love about that album is that they still maintain that thing of like you've got your heavy rockers, your hard rocking tunes, but they added a heavier element. But then there's still these really well written, well performed ballads that are just so like I think maybe it is In a Darkened Room, but there's one of those songs that like every time I hear it, I go, some new pop star could just take that song and make a pop version of it, and it'd be a fucking gigantic hit.
Yeah,
because it's got this great melody in it and everything, and so. Yeah, no, needless to say, I'm also a fan of this album.
Yeah, this is a great fucking album. And for me, this is it was between the first album and this as to whether or not what was my first real taste of that, glam metal side of things. Because I really liked what I heard on Vice City, but I was more resonating with the San Andreas soundtrack at the time. But I would alternate between the games, depending on my mood. But it got to a point that I'd built up such a thrash collection and such a grunge collection. I had Metallica, I had Megadeth, I had some Slayer albums, I had some Anthrax, I had some Nirvana, some Soundgarden, some Alice in Chains, Stone Temple Pilots, Pearl Jam. I realized very quickly I ain't got shit in terms of this, and I really like this sound too. So Skid Row really were the first step in me becoming the 80s guy for a while, despite the fact that I'm very rooted in the 90s in terms of things.
And it was a 90s album that drove you back into the 80s. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it's funny because I kind of started here and worked back.
Yeah.
Because I always found myself drawn to the sound of like 80s rock.
Yeah.
But I didn't really know where to go because there's no real clear-cut big four of that sound. It's just a shit load of bands that got pushed from record labels, around that time. There's not really a distinctive
You could
big
fucking
four.
argue for days picking 4 bands.
And the weird thing is, for me is like when people, I've even tried looking this up, and it's like, oh well, if you look at everything, the biggest hair metal bands are Guns N' Roses, Bon Jovi, and it's like, yeah, well, they were that then, they're not that now, and if anything, I don't know, it's weird. I don't know who it would be. That would be an interesting
For hair metal,
sidebar.
Poison is in there.
Oh, 100% Poison. If I was to type in, what is it? Hair metal bands.
But this is what I'm trying to say. You have to make that distinction because you can't put Poison and Guns N' Roses together. I feel like they're in different sections of that world.
Yeah, yeah.
So like hair bands, Poison, Cinderella maybe in
Well,
there.
here's the thing as well. Like, what bands that had already established themselves in a different genre, I feel like are out of the question.
Yeah.
You can't have Alice Cooper. You can't have Whitesnake. You can't have fucking Kiss. You need to these bands that went here but didn't start here. You
Yeah.
have to discard. So the top bands that I'm seeing here. So Motley Crue, obviously they're going to be like
Motley Crue. Yes.
Motley Crue have got to be up there. Def Leppard. Now, Def Leppard,
I have a hard time putting them in that camp.
it's I would always refer to them as hair metal adjacent as opposed to hair metal.
Yeah, because they're also new album adjacent as well.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, they started in a different scene. So Def Leppard, they're out of here.
Yeah.
Rat, I feel Rat's got to be in there, right?
But do you feel comfortable with Rat being next to Poison? I feel like that doesn't I mean obviously Poison doesn't exist without Rat, so maybe that's true. That's why I'm saying like it's a really weird discussion because if you're going to talk about the most popular, then you would easily put Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, Poison,
And Bon Jovi.
and that'd probably be it. Because even like
what-
Rat had success, but I don't think Rat had the same success as those other bands.
I suppose it would also come into like the whole thing of like, I mean, fucking Van Halen. Van Halen essentially wrote the book on it, but nobody considers them full blown hair metal. To be fair, if I'm being honest, Van Halen kind of have this get out of jail free card where they changed the game with that sound, but they very quickly said, yeah, but we're not only that, you know, we're getting real weird with it.
They're their own band.
Yeah.
I don't really. It's funny how influential Van Halen are, and yet
the sound they birthed is so derided.
But there are other bands that are influenced from Van Halen, but I don't think any of those bands manage to sound anything like Van Halen. Like I feel Van Halen is like. That's why I've always said those three dudes. Whatever singer is in the band, fine. But those three dudes playing together is Van Halen, and it sounds fucking fantastic no matter what they did. So,
well, here's the distinction, right? Because I feel like you can't include glam bands that fell off, and you can't include glam bands that showed up too late. I feel like you have to arrive around 84 to 86. 87 onward is late, right?
Yeah.
So Poison just barely make it. If I list off these bands right now, so we've got Motley Crue, we're keeping.
Yeah.
Def Leppard, as big as they are.
Another band that no band sounds like Def Leppard.
Yeah.
So they're their own thing.
Rat. I mean, we'll keep Rat for now. I think Rat exemplify the perfect sugar to dirt ratio of the hair metal.
I agree with that, but if you're going by the rules of like what can be considered a big four, out of a lot of these bands, Rat does a tour today. They don't play to the number of people that Crue, Guns N' Roses, Bon Jovi, all those bands still can play to arena crowds for the most part.
Yeah. Well, the thing is though, like Guns N' Roses, they're not necessarily. I mean, their debut is 87, so I mean they're late to the party, and I don't think they even identified with.
So,
So,
but at least they had a sound that was similar to other bands, though.
Yeah.
You could throw Cinderella and bands like that, and they fit in with it, with some of it. I don't know. See, I'm saying it's very tough
Yeah.
figuring that out, but I'm just going to say Poison is number one, because I feel like Poison is like the height of the excess, but also the height of the popularity. But they're also a band that goes on tours and plays to massive audiences in 2025. So something about them just feels like that's the right band.
And I feel like people nowadays dog on Vince Neil a lot more than they do Bret Michaels.
Well, now that everyone knows he had a stroke or some shit, you're going to be nicer to him now?
Oh shit! I didn't know that. I've heard about something, but I didn't realize that it was that.
I mean, honestly, it's more recent. So I mean, he's been not doing a great job on vocals for a long time. But once again, I'll remind everybody that if it was really that bad, they would book tours and people wouldn't buy tickets. So talk all the shit you want, but your band's not playing to the crowds they're playing to with Vince Neil sounding how he sounds.
Here's an interesting hypothetical. This is already a long episode. It's going to run long anyway. If we were going to establish some sort of like, what's the equivalent? You've got your Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, Anthrax, and a potential Testament Exodus pick as well.
Yeah.
Who is, if you were to look at the names, Motley Crue, Bon Jovi, Rat, Poison. Rat's going to be the Anthrax, right? Anthrat.
Anthrat, yeah. I guess so. I guess that four works because Guns N' Roses kind of don't really fit the bill.
No.
But even a lot of those bands like Bon Jovi moved away from that sound, but they were very important. But they were very important to that sound being famous, in the 80s. So that four does feel pretty good. Because I like including Rat because Rat really does represent the heavier side of it, the more riffy side of it, and then Poison is the other side of that. And then you've got Motley Crue, which is kind of like I don't know, the godfathers of not godfathers, but the big daddies of that scene.
Well, yeah, I would say like if you're talking, sorry, I said Megadeth, I meant to say Metallica. Yeah, like they're the band you associate with that Motley Crue.
I would say so.
Would that make Poison the Megadeth? but the thing is, Poison probably played to bigger crowds than Motley at this point, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I'd be curious to do some research and figure out who actually played to bigger crowds in the 80s. Was it Poison or Motley Crue? Because Poison blew the fuck up, man.
Yeah. So. Well, here's the thing, right? This would make an excellent sidebar.
Okay.
But because it opens up so many possibilities to just like make a big list of hair metal bands and just tick through and find out, do they have these criteria for
So if you liked this tangent, stay tuned because eventually there will be a whole fucking episode devoted to a conversation about who would the big four of are we calling it hair metal?
The big four of. Do you know what? Let's call
glam
it
metal.
Do you know what would make it? What would narrow it down a little bit?
What?
I was gonna say the big four of LA hair metal, but if you think that's it, they didn't do that with the big four because Anthrax are from New York.
Yeah.
So
this is a conversation we can have on that sidebar.
Hell yeah! Right. Well,
back on track. Where were we? Number 3.
Well, I was on number 3. I said "Slave to the Grind."
Skid Row. Yes.
Yeah. Basically, I got really into this sound backwards from here. Cracking the beer. Pouring the beer. Another beer.
Every once in a while, we like to get a little wasted. We like to take a taste of alcohol.
That is an excellent way to keep this thing moving. Hell yeah.
Is it time for my number 3?
It is.
Okay. This is another one that's probably not a surprise to a lot of people out there. Another very influential album for me as a songwriter. You can even hear me ripping them off in the most recent debut album from Grave Circuit. Meantime from Helmet is my number 3.
Nice.
Super influential. I mean, I mentioned this album earlier. It's an album that I loved so much when I got it that once I started playing guitar, I learned how to play every song on this album. And so much of the first few albums, Helmet riffs, different versions of them still keep coming out of me when I write songs. And so I can't do anything about it because it really was infectious to me when it came out. And I don't really have a lot to say. It's just an amazing fucking album. Once again, 1992. That time period, like so many fucking amazing albums all came out that it's ridiculous. But this one, very influential because like this 92. So I started playing guitar in 94, I believe, and then And then there were the albums that I immediately wanted to start like learning the riffs from, and Helmet was a big one for me, along with like, Rage Against the Machine, shit like that. You get the idea. But yeah, Meantime's a very big album for me, and almost so big that I feel like I don't even need to say anything. I just hold up the album and go, Meantime. All right, moving on to number 2.
Dude, I'm glad that you mentioned Meantime and Rage Against the Machine on this episode because those are other ones that are hugely, hugely important to me.
Yeah. Rage Against the Machine, another band that with a pretty perfect discography, in my opinion. We ranked them too. No duds in their discography, in my opinion, anyway.
For sure. And for me, Meantime is another, with Unsung. That one's in San Andreas too, and that really helped me get into the more alternative metal side of things as opposed to the grunge stuff. So but I will say this: I was pretty late to the Helmet party because I got really into Living Colour. I got really into a lot of the other bands, but like Helmet and Jane's Addiction really clicked with me after my initial run through the 80s stuff had kind of worn off, where I was like, I kind of need to go back to my roots a little bit now. I feel like I've had a hair metal overdose, which is the most hair metal thing to do ever. So, simply put, but
number 2.
Meantime's great, and I'm glad it got mentioned. So number 2.
Amazing.
So number 2, this is a full-blown box set right now, and I'm going to come right out and say it is Toto the Collection.
Oh, wow. Toto the Collection. Okay.
So for me, I one day woke up and decided that, you know what? I've always loved Hold the Line, right? Hold the Line has been, it was my favorite song when I was a kid because I heard it on San Andreas, and it blew my mind. I was like, oh man, this is so good. Every note of this is perfect where it should be. The vocal hooks, the guitars, the keyboards, the drums, the feel, the bass, everything from top to bottom is a perfect fucking song. Yeah. Right? And I thought, well, any band that can write a song that good surely has other songs of that caliber. And I was not disappointed when I said to my mum, I still didn't have a job at the time to pay my own money yet. So I begged. I said, look, don't give me any money. She ended up doing it because she's awesome. But I said, just take this money from me in advance, and I want this CD box set. It's got the first 7 Toto albums and a bonus live DVD from their 1990 world tour.
Nice.
And
yeah, it's funny that when you mention that, it just reminds me of how I am with my kid with it, like mentioning music.
Yeah,
I'm immediately like, okay, I'm gonna buy it for you right now. Then, no, don't give me your money. Don't give me your money.
Yeah, I want that here too.
I will buy it for you because it's just I'm always on board for expanding musical horizons in any way possible.
Absolutely. And I'm going to list off the albums, and one of the coolest things that's ever happened on this show is I turned you on to Toto.
Yeah,
That's one.
well,
That's
because
one of the.
I literally knew like 3 Toto songs prior to I
Yeah.
believe prior to us doing that.
Was that a? Can I guess them?
Uh huh.
Hold the Line, Rosanna, and Africa.
Yeah.
And at a push, I'll be over you. That one as
Well,
well.
I knew later when we started doing it, I remembered that song. Same thing with like
Yeah.
Georgie Porgy or whatever.
Yeah.
I recognized it, but I would never have known that that was a Toto song before that.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. You've become a big Toto fan in the last.
Yeah, the first up until the end of the '80s. I mean, I like all the stuff, but up
Yeah.
until the end of the '80s, I think that everything's great.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to list off the albums, and you're going to do your thing where you're like, oh, Toto,
Well, yeah, for that one, yeah,
Hydra.
underrated.
Yep. Turn Back, mega underrated.
Good, but for me, a step down from the first 2, but I still like it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But it does have Goodbye Eleanor on it, which is basically their Detroit Rock City.
Yeah,
Which is
yeah.
fucking great. Toto 4 goes without saying.
Classic.
Yeah. Well, when over half of your album is hit singles, you know you've done something right.
Yeah,
Isolation, one of my personal favorites.
very '80s, but yes, I like that one.
Very 80s and very underrated. Stranger in Town, Angel Don't Cry. Those 2 songs should have been huge.
Yeah,
Fahrenheit, where they went full 80s pop rock.
yeah,
And seventh one is a cool one because it's got like arena rock, hard rock, pop rock, soft rock. It's like
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff on it that was super 80s is on the 7th one. And I would even go as far as to say that Kingdom of Desire should have been in that box set.
Yeah.
I think it's really underrated, and it's one of those crazy times where they downsized to like a 4-piece and just said fuck it, we're doing a hard rock album,
yeah.
which awesome. This band, I mean, they're all session players. They're all fantastic, insane musicians. Like
Yeah.
if I started now trying to practice as much as these guys must have, I will be a fraction of their talent.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, every for like music nerds, every single album has multiple parts in songs where you just kind of go, oh, because
Yeah.
it's like even the simplest, like, oh, this is just a little soft rock ditty, but like something will happen with a turn in the time signature, or even a something connecting 2 different parts. There'll be a weird melody, and you'll be like, oh, what the fuck was that?
You know what? My litmus test for do I take your opinion seriously is what do you think of Toto?
Yeah.
Because to me, even as like a metal guy, or like as like a grunge guy, or as a thrash guy, whatever various ideas of me people have,
Yeah.
right? From the music I've made myself to the music I've talked about on the show, to the music I've talked about with people in general, right? If you don't think Toto are fucking great, I will not listen to a fucking word you say, right?
Also, but sometimes people just need to be exposed to it, like me.
Yeah, I know, but it's that thing of if you're going to be loud about your opinion, and your opinion is Toto are not great, I am sorry, but any weight to what you were going to say, it's gone. Because imagine turning around and saying Goodbye Girl is not a fantastic fucking song.
Yeah.
Like, and I know it's a deep cut. I just
Great one, though.
oh yeah, like seriously, to those listening who haven't done the Toto deep dive, that first album is enough to hook you.
Yeah,
You
just
know?
do the first album. If that doesn't connect with you, then I don't. I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
it's just. Speaking of a fucking variety of tunes all expertly put together, like that's it right there.
Well, like not one song is the same either. Like you got Charles Anthem just kicks you in the face with just this epic AOR orchestral fucking thing, and then you get I'll Supply the Love, which is like funky in
I love
parts,
that
and
one.
then
That's fun as fuck.
Oh,
It's a feel good track.
It's like this funk song in the verses, and then it's a rock song in the chorus, and then it's a progressive song at the end. You got Georgie Porges' Smooth Jam. You got Manuela Run, which is an upbeat, kind of rock song. You Are the Flowers, just smooth jazz fucking goodness. You got Girl Goodbye, sorry. That song fucking rules.
Yeah.
Taking It Back is chill as hell. Rockmaker's an upbeat one. Hold the Line is the best song of all time, and I won't have it said that it's not. And Angela is a great album closer. I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of those amazing albums where it's like, yeah, we are we have, instead of fuck you money, we have fuck you talent, where it's like, we don't have enough runtime to show you what we can do, so we're gonna craft the most perfectly made yacht rock, pop rock, jazz rock, arena rock, funk rock, hard rock, R&B album we can.
Yeah.
And the fact that they go in and nail all of those styles in one album is I'm just I think the Wikipedia guy that was in charge of Toto gave up trying to categorize them, because on the first album it's yacht rock, pop rock, jazz rock, arena rock, funk rock, hard rock, R&B in the genre section. Hydra rock.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
People also overlook that album. I think that's unfortunate, because it's, it's a step down from the first one, but it's really hard to compete with that first album for anybody, even those guys.
It's all great shit,
Yeah. I mean, I've always said that, like, it's also very it's perfect that first album, like the album cover is literally just a sword in space.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, what else? What other image was going to do that album justice? A sword in space.
Yeah. I like that they kept that theme as well. Like every now and again they drop a sword album.
Yeah.
And it's funny how like those sword albums are just kind of bangers. Like it's like, oh, it's got a sword on it. It's got some bangers on it. But
stay tuned for the next Grave Circuit album, which is going to be a sword.
Yeah. I tell you what though, you want to hear about a Toto glazing session before we move on, dude. Minefields has grown on me so much. That album is a grower, but Falling in Between,
a 90s one, right?
Yeah, late 90s Minefields, and Falling in Between from 2006. Literally, the opening track of that is a progressive metal song. Like that's the first time I heard Falling in Between, I had to look for my nuts because they'd been blown off. It was crazy. Yeah.
That's high praise.
So, yeah, absolutely. So anyway, I feel like I've talked enough about Toto to feel happy about it.
We did. All right, my number 2, the beginning of everything for me. When it comes to when I got into music and got into my own music, this was the beginning of it. And I've never been the same ever since. 1984,
nice.
Van Halen, amazing album. My favorite of the David Lee Roth era, because it's really easy to get caught up in the fact that, all right, they leaned into the synthesizers and there's like these big, the big well-known tracks, Jump, Panama, Hot for Teacher. But that would be fine, even with, if it was those songs and then a couple of like, not so great songs. But it's literally a perfect album. There's no bad song on this album. It's just banger after banger. And there's something about an album that produces like these big hit singles, but then you put it on and you realize your favorite songs are the other songs on the album. Like that's pretty amazing. But Van Halen was the first real rock band that I got into when I was very young. So I mean, I probably got this album in '85. So I would have been 7 maybe at that point. Does that math work out? And I was obsessed with it, and it really is the album that led me into everything else. Because once I got into Van Halen, I was at the grocery store with my mom, and I'm like, "Can I get this album, this Bon Jovi album?" Like, it literally like led me into the world of rock music. And on top of that, not only is it a super important album, but it's one that I put on now, and I'm still just like, "Holy fuck, man!"
Yeah.
Just Van Halen are one of the greatest bands ever in the history of music. I'd put them top 5 greatest bands in the history of music. I almost feel like there's no argument there. Like, it's literally just, and I'll even include Sammy Hagar stuff in that. I just think that they were just so amazing as a band while still being super popular. It's like, I know for sure that, the guys in Toto would look at the guys in Van Halen and be like, those guys are great musicians. I know they would, because they are, all of them. That's like the one thing, is that the front man is like the most popular. You look at the band and you're like, oh, David Lee Roth. And I love David Lee Roth, but anybody could have been the singer of that band, and I think it would still have had the same impact because of those Eddie Van Halen, Alex Van Halen, Michael Anthony, those 3 fucking dudes. Like, holy shit. Anyway, love this album. Very important for me. Has been a favorite for most of my life. So, like, I'm 47 now. So for 40 years, this has been one of my favorite albums. So that says something. But it's not my number one. And literally, you're all at home like, we know what the fucking number one is, old head. Oh, do you? Do you? We'll find out.
We'll find out.
What's your number one? Hold on. Your number one is...
Remember, I'm going chronologically. I'm not going in...
So we passed over more recent... Oh, fucking shit, man.
It's probably a lot earlier than you would think. It's...
Okay, no, I'm ready for this.
Okay, so this for me spans... The reason I stuck to these 10 releases is because it kind of spans like the 5 years that I was in secondary school.
Yeah.
And that time for me, while it was a difficult time in terms of me personally, music-wise, I was top tier music choices because, God damn, like, I made what I believe to be the perfect... Like, everything led to another thing that really, really spoke to me.
Yeah.
And I came out the other end of it, and I thought to myself, right, I found out that not only did I like hip-hop, I liked heavy metal. I liked old-school heavy metal. I liked the 90s grunge stuff. I liked things that were a little weird. I liked things that had a little smirk to them, but didn't go all the way into joke territory. They were still very good songs. I also liked the 80s hair metal stuff, regardless of what anybody thinks. I even like the classic rock stuff from the 70s, and I like things that, are very virtuosic from Toto and whatnot.
Yeah.
So where did that leave me? It's somewhere in 2014. All of a sudden, I get this itch to go, man, what if metal riffs could coexist with kind of synthesizer stuff that I have shown to like on either, I've had something in my head this whole time. I like this sound, but I don't know what it's called. Industrial. It is Pretty Hate Machine by Nine Inch Nails.
Oh, yeah.
So this for me is like the moment where, when I got into this album, rules were off the table completely.
Yeah.
Because I began to realize that, when I got into metal, there were a lot of people saying, oh, metal takes talent. Metal means that you practice your instrument. You don't need a drum machine to play stuff. Even though I thought, I've heard the use of some drum machines that sounds quite cool. No synthesizers used on this album. let's not discredit an entire instrument.
Yeah, maybe next time we should add some synthesizers.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Well, here we are at Nine Inch Nails' Pretty Hate Machine, showcasing a marriage between 80s electronic instrumentation and the metal riffage of the day.
Yeah.
I remember hearing Head Like a Hole for the first time
Yeah.
and being absolutely blown away that a synth riff could be that heavy.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, my mind opened to everything. It no longer became about, everything's got to be fucking, everything's got to be real. No synthesizer, fucking closed-minded bullshit.
Yeah.
Let's throw everything off the rule book is not only torn in half and thrown out of the window, it flew into a dumpster that was on fire and it no longer exists.
Yeah.
Right? This paired with Faith No More and Ugly Kid Joe and all of these things that had led to this point, I can remember getting into Nine Inch Nails at a really cool time for me musically, because this was the point at which I'd come full circle as a metal fan, and I became a full-on music fan.
Yeah.
And it was no longer about, it was no longer about out-heavying the heaviness or out-depressing the other grunge band or out-weirding the other band. It just became, oh, this is a completely new thing and I'm completely on board with it. I've never heard this, but it's speaking to me. And I realized I was playing it one time, and my mum, she's always been super supportive of me being like a music fan in all forms. And she walked in one day and she said, "What the hell is this?" Because she'd never really heard any Nine Inch Nails before. And I said, "This is Nine Inch Nails." Yeah, well, she'd probably heard it somewhere, but couldn't put a name to it. She'd not heard any Nine Inch Nails, and she was like, "What is this? It doesn't sound like the sort of thing you'd be listening to." I said, "I listen to fucking everything." I had that moment.
You knew me.
Yeah. It's like, where is my son, and what have you done with him?
Yeah.
He became me, and now I like everything. And I think the coolest thing that has happened since this time in my life is that I've slowly begun to like more and more things. And at the end of the day, right, I've, kind of done the spiritual maths on it and really realized that it's just cool to like shit.
Yeah.
Liking more stuff is great, I mean, obviously, providing it's not harming anyone, as long as, if it's not hurting anybody, cool.
Yeah, like more stuff, and the stuff that you don't like, just move on. Because the time that you spend shitting on something, you could be spending that time discovering something new. And
dude,
we don't have a lot of time on this planet, folks.
Dude, I spent so much time thinking, my Kerrang and Scuzz, that was, the beacon of variety in hard rock and heavy metal, has been overtaken by a pop punk and nu metal live stream for 24 fucking hours.
Yeah.
Right?
That sounds fun, though, either way. I would be down for that as well.
but yeah, like, the thing is, at the time, that kind of music wasn't speaking to me the way...
Oh, yeah. No, I totally get it.
The way thrash, grunge, and glam were speaking to me, it wasn't speaking to me in the same way.
Yeah.
So it became this is the music of the enemy. I'm in my Metallica Kill Bon Jovi era.
Yeah.
I need to be the guy that kills emo and brings back 80s metal. And then I realized, what an asinine fucking mindset to have.
Yeah.
Just enjoy shit you like, and like you say, move on.
Yeah.
Move on from... Yeah, if you don't like it, fine. Do you know what? Here's a huge beacon of personal growth I'm announcing on the show today, right?
Oh,
5 years ago, you wouldn't have caught me fucking dead listening to this stuff. I stuck on a 2000s emo playlist because I wanted to expand my horizons. Didn't hate it. In fact, I actually enjoyed a lot of it. And in fact, I found a lot of similarities between hair metal and that genre that I didn't want to admit at the time.
Yeah.
There are a lot of like MCR riffs that would not be out of place on like a Dokken song, like the dun, 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 sort of things. Yeah, I mean, there's great guitar playing in that band, and there's great music in all genres if you look around. I mean, obviously nobody's gonna have everything appeal to them.
Yeah.
That's the human experience. But I think at the end of the day, if you can turn around and just divorce life from, stop trying to apply objective truths to a subjective thing. Like, at the end of the day, this show is just a conversation starter. We're just having fun, laughing and goofing around about shit we like or don't like. But at the end of the day, it just generates a fun conversation. But you and I both have a deep appreciation of music in general. And without it, I feel like we'd be lost as people. I'd maybe go all in on gaming, but even then, the lack of music in gaming would suck.
Yeah. I don't know where I would be if I would. Yeah. I don't know. I would probably have succumbed to depression and anxiety and gotten into drugs because, like, I don't know. Because that's my life. Like, if you took music away, I wouldn't know what to do. Wouldn't know how to function.
Dude, I had a music once where I had a nightmare once. I had
music too.
I had a music once.
Back in my day, we had music.
You were allowed one music per threepence, and you had to work in the mines for 60 hours a day. No, it was. So I had a nightmare once that every record I put on my turntable was fucking Agadoo, and I woke up screaming because I was
what?
Agadoo, do. Push pineapple, shaker tree. It's like a fucking really annoying like British charity single from the 80s or some shit. Oh, okay. Honestly though, that's gonna be torturing me now for fucking. I've spoke it into existence. No, it's one of those British things that
more like Aga don't.
Hey, he's cured it. He's broken the curse,
and the dogs go wild.
Dude, seriously though, if you want to have something annoyingly catchy in your head, that fucking Agadoo song will get stuck in your head.
So yeah, if it inspired a
don't
nightmare,
do it to yourself.
Yeah, I don't want to have the same nightmare. So are you done with your number one? The Pretty Hate Machine.
Yeah,
I guess it's not number one. It's the most recent for you because you're counting up. I'm counting. Importance or whatever, because that's just what I do. I'm ranking.
Yeah, because I would consider these 10 albums to be like the jumping off points for individual facets of my musical taste.
Yeah.
I would even attribute my love of synthwave to Pretty Hate Machine.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of synth on that album, and a lot of it in that aggressive kind of boom, 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 boom kind of style. So really everything beyond this point you could attribute somewhat to one of these 10 albums.
Yeah
Sweet.
This one, the most important album ever in my life, not by like with a bullet. There's no I mean, can you guess what it is? Most people can guess what it is. What is it?
To the Extreme by Vanilla Ice.
Oh, how did you figure it out? No, it's this little guy. Nevermind by Nirvana. The most important album ever for me. Came out when I was 13. Completely changed my thinking about music how it related to me. Because this was the first album that I feel like really spoke to me and felt like I was part of it, and then led me down the path of like wanting to play music. It all starts here. And then it's another one of those albums that I still put it on and I'm completely blown away by it in every way. Honestly, like it's gotten to the point now with this band that I've really decided that the only reason that Nirvana isn't my number one band of all time, it's because they only put out 3 albums. And if I don't know what it would have happened if they had continued. They probably wouldn't have continued. I have a feeling that they would have been. He would never have come back to it. He would have quit this band and started doing other things. You never know. It's all just assumptions you make about somebody from what you know about them. But Metallica is my favorite band, but that's just because the longevity of their career and them continuing to be something that I care so much about, that puts them at the top. But Nirvana, if you really wanted to whittle everything down, those 3 albums that they put out, and then the other stuff around the same time that they put out, is the most important music to me. And I still put it on, and I feel something physically every single time. And Nevermind I didn't know Bleach. Bleach was a smaller release, and I was a 13-year-old kid, so I didn't hear Bleach. One of my we've talked about this before. When television shows and movies try to like talk about music, they often get it wrong.
Yeah.
And there's a really great show called Yellow Jackets that I like, and it takes place half of it takes place in around 1996. Which is when I was a senior in high school, and it involves kids who are seniors in high school. And there's a flashback scene from like earlier in the 90s, and these 2 younger people talking about how, I just don't, Nevermind, I felt like they were our band when Bleach came out. And I'm like, these fucking kids didn't have that conversation. These kids didn't know Bleach. Stop it with this fucking writing. Because it didn't happen. Because knowing the characters in that show, they didn't know Bleach. So Nevermind was the introduction. But that happens so much when people write about music, and I'm just like, no, sorry, this isn't this isn't how it would have happened. But because Nevermind was such a big deal, and for a lot of us, that was how this band was on the map. I don't know. I feel like I've talked about Nevermind so many times on my channel and in my life that I don't think I have anything else to add. But it is one of those albums that I'm very sensitive to this album, so much so that you're very welcome to not like it, because to each their own. But if you try to come at me with some sort of, I get that all the time where people will comment and say, that can't be the most important album. Do you need to expand your horizons? Or when people try to come at me and talk to me about me not knowing music.
Yeah, correct answer mindset, I've always called it.
But this is one of those albums that, like, if that's how you come at me when I'm talking about this album, you are blocked from my life. Like, fuck you forever. But like I said, if you come at it in the right direction, you're just like, yeah, that album never spoke to me because of X, Y, and Z or whatever. Then I'm just like, fine. But this is like personal. It gets personal with this band and this album. So anyway, yeah, my number one, Nevermind Nirvana, because it really is like just the most important album ever made to me in my life. And so that wraps that. You know what I forgot to do earlier? Because when we were talking about Van Halen, I forgot to do this.
God damn it, baby, no, I ain't lying to you. I'm only going to tell you one time. Ah, yeah.
And now I can do this.
Yeah, we did it.
And just to make sure I play all of the sound effects from this from my sound bank.
He fucking left the band.
There you go, everybody. That's our top 10 most important albums of our lives. We covered a lot of really cool ground here. I really like this episode. And it's been a really long episode with a very long discussion, but some of you out there I know really like that. The peanut butter platypuses, aluminium squirrels, bubbly boss, Christmas dogs.
Yes. That's them.
What were you going to say? Sorry.
I was going to say, I think this may be the longest and most stylistically diverse episode we've ever covered. Maybe up there with the San Andreas episode.
Yeah, that one was pretty long.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's been good. I like having these conversations. What's next on our agenda?
Next on our list is, obviously it's a band we've been meaning to do for a long time, and also in lieu of a recent passing,
Oh shit! I forgot we're doing this.
as kind of a tribute, and because I need to do a far deeper dive than what I know. The next episode idea in question is Mastodon,
Oh hell yeah!
followed by Kiss live albums.
Which that one's going to be interesting, but yes.
Yeah. Then we've got Sleep Token.
Oh fuck! I forgot
Potentially.
they were on the list.
Yeah. So, I thought,
Get ready, folks.
they've blown up so much in the last few years that I thought, fuck it, let's cover something current. So,
Yeah, really. Like, if you were going to pick like the bands that people talk about the most, it's either going to be that or Turnstile, probably.
yeah, like honestly, the thing that's really made me want to do this episode lately is the sheer amount of Sleep Token shirts I have seen out in public lately.
Yeah.
It's hard to ignore,
Yeah.
Not since seeing girls with BVB and A7X written on their fucking arms getting off the bus. Dude, yeah. Knives and pins. Right, yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So are you? So are you prepared for Mastodon next
Dude,
episode?
how many Mastodon albums are there?
I don't know.
Mastodon
Eight, maybe 9.
I've heard Leviathan, and that's the only one I've heard all the way through, and I know songs here and there.
8 studio albums, and one of them is really long. The most recent one is like basically a double album.
So you got Remission, Leviathan, Blood Mountain, Crack the Sky, The Hunter. I remember when The Hunter came out, that Curl of the Burl song got stuck in my head. Once More Round the Sun, Emperor of Sand, and Hushed and Grim.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's there's like, a sort of a mini album prior to that they ended up calling Call of the Mastodon, but you kind of get a similar vibe on Remission, so you kind of get that. So we don't really need to include that. We should just do the 8 proper albums, Remission through Hushed and Grim.
No worries.
I love that band, so I'm very excited to talk about them.
Tell you what, I'm going to put that sidebar on here as well. Sidebar, Big 4 glam metal.
I prefer calling it glam metal over hair metal because hair.
Yeah.
It's like you're really. I hate the fact that it's like, oh, we're talking about something visual when it comes to something that's audio, and I'm just like, I mean, I know the MTV had a big thing to do with it, but at this point, it's down to music.
Yeah. I've over the years,
I guess glam is still a visual thing, but still.
I don't know, man. I feel like the whole. I don't know.
Oh man, everything just got so much clearer now that I put my glasses on.
Now that's how the migraine goes away.
I should be wearing these the whole episode. Now that I have my new prescription and my new glasses, now I'm all like, oh, I need to be wearing these the whole fucking time.
Well, to be fair, if it makes you feel any better, you pull off the glasses far better than I do. Because every time I wear the glasses on my end, it just looks like I've got 2 white computer monitors right here.
I guess if I had the light in the right position, it would look weird. But,
yeah. I don't know.
Anyway, we've been here long enough. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Cool.
Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll be back ranking some Mastodon and plenty more. I mean, literally the list that we have is already long, and it literally just keeps growing all the time. So as usual, like if you put in bands you'd like to hear us do, we can take that into consideration. I always do. When people ask us to do bands, I always sort of bring it up. So yes. Also, put your top 10 most important albums of your lives in the fucking YouTube comments. Thank you very much. And as usual, I'm going to throw it over to Eddie Sparxx to take us out.
Let's do a classic one for this one. Later, dude.